Pull up, put the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach and the bench deep. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunkered down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Found guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back, like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We doing a little bit different around here.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't come to play, we ain't come to play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in to the Film Guy Network on a fabulous Monday evening. I got to go ahead and pull the curtain back on the show right quick because my man, Jonathan Williams, is over here typing up an absolute hellstorm whilst delivering the intros, whilst delivering all of the audio today during the live show because Georgia just popped off with a must-have commit. 2026 class? 2025 class. A special teamer. We shall talk about it in the local hour, but we got a loaded show for you guys here on the national hour. Jim Knowles departing Ohio State. We have exit interviews. Been a topic and a segment in the national or in the local hour that people have loved a lot. We're going to bring it to the national hour here tonight. Apparently a new replay rule to talk about tonight as well. Shane Beamer grabs an extension from South Carolina, and I got SEC quarterback rankings coming to you guys tonight. That and much more, but I want to open with this right here. Guys, ever since name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal have arrived in college football, we have seen player mobility explode through the roof. These players are making more money and have more leverage than ever before. Okay, and they're in a time right now as football players where not only is their skill set valued and valuable, but mobility is available to them. It's led to a lot of change in our sport as well, right? Change that's caused a lot of people to be up in arms with, quotes like "the sport is ruined" or "this isn't what I grew up rooting for," or yada, 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 insert "the sport is in trouble" types of narratives, right? Because we gave all these players money finally, and we let them move around finally. We happen to do it all at the same exact time without any type of rules or any type of guidelines or any type of, foresight relatively at all. And now, like I said, everyone's up in arms clamoring for change around the world of college football because players are making money and because players have mobility and because guys are playing for 3 or 4 teams over 4 or 5 year spans. And it's got everyone up in arms that there's no loyalty anymore. What's going on with our sport? No loyalty at all. Yet, boys, in the last 12 months of college football, I want to read off some headlines to you. Chip Kelly leaves the UCLA head coaching job to go to Ohio State. After 1 year, wins a title, starts flirting around with NFL offensive coordinating jobs. Jed Fish, after just 3 seasons at Arizona, leaves for Washington. Kalen DeBoer has made his 5th team change in just 6 seasons. Barry Odom just left UNLV for the Purdue head coaching job. That is Barry Odom's 5th stop in 4 seasons of college football. Dow Loggins is now making his 4th stop in just 4 years as the head coach at App State after spending just 1 year as the offensive coordinator at South Carolina. Guys, do you remember that one time James Coley took the wide receivers coaching job at South Carolina for like 3 weeks? And then Georgia's wide receivers coach at the time decided he was going to go take the same job in the NFL, leaving the job open at Georgia. And James Coley's like, you know what? My time as a Gamecocks coach sure was fun. I'm going to jump over here at Georgia because this one's available. Is my point made yet that there is a double standard about how we respond to player movement and player mobility versus what it is when coaches seemingly do this ad nauseum?
Yeah.
The point is made. If it hasn't been, let's hammer it home. The news that we're going to talk about tonight is about Jim Knowles leaving Ohio State after spending just a couple of years there. By the way, this is Jim Knowles' fourth stop in 3 seasons as a defensive coordinator. We have plenty of talk about with this, but my overall point is exactly that. You expect players to be loyal nowadays, and when no one has loyalty at all. All right, I got multiple buddies that I have, known since we got out of school, since we started entering the workforce. And all of them have changed jobs dozens of times, half a dozens of times. And they're jumping the corporate ladder like this. They're jumping from one ladder to the other because this ladder's offering an additional rung. Hey, you get, 4 or 5 more days of PTO. And by the way, we'll give you $1,000 a month raise. And you had me at raise. Shit, you might have had me at PTO. There's no loyalty, no. We want to stick around and fight it out for anybody nowadays. Yet because players make money, now we get all mad and up in arms because these guys have an opportunity to go and improve upon their lives, or at least what they think is improving upon their lives. No one is passing up better offers. You aren't. No one is. I'm not. We're not passing up better offers. That's not what we do as humans anymore. You can pray for loyalty and morality in one hand while everyone else is counting up checks. Speaking of counting up checks, Jonathan, and getting your money right, I sure could get a hold of my spending, Jonathan. You got any ideas on that?
I am so glad you brought this up because I've been sitting on this for a while, and I'm glad that I finally get to bring it to the table for everybody. I got this thing called Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills as you can grow your savings. Rocket Money has over 5 million.
5 million?
5 million users.
That's with an M?
5 million users, and it saved a total of 500 million, again with an M, and cancel subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/gameon today. That's rocketmoney.com/gameon. rocketmoney.com/gameon.
rocketmoney.com/gameon. Appreciate those guys for supporting us. I appreciate that little itch in the back of my throat that set in about 90 seconds into that opening for really just hanging out there for a second and just allowing me to really hammer home that coaches ain't shit, neither are players. Stop expecting them to be. Take right there to start the show.
Do you think it's because we went for 150 years of forced loyalty? Yeah. And now all of a sudden
we went 100 years of college football thinking that because they stick around 4 years that they love the university.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? And because you love the university, now you and that player have a connectivity, right? DJ Shockley has said it 1,000 times. If he played now, he'd have been gone. I'm out. You're not forcing me to stick around.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is an actual level playing field now between players and coaches, and there is a cultural shock to a fan base collective across the sport that has been very, very used to. Well, I like that freshman, so I get to see him for at least 2 more years before the NFL steals him. But I don't have to worry about somebody else stealing him. He's mine for the next 3 years.
Well, I think it's funny, too, when you start applying other worldwide aspects that other humans can relate to.
Don't you dare provide context to these 18, 19-year-old kids. Don't do that. Don't put a mirror in front of my face. Nuh-uh.
I know every situation is different, but if we're going to stay in the player perspective of this, say you're at a job, but the guy in front of you has a hold on this position, you're trying to get promoted and whatnot, but you can't get there because the guy's sticking around. But hey, this other job's saying, we'll put you in this position now because we need somebody. We'll compensate you for it and everything. Why wouldn't you go take that offer? That's what you got to do to build up that resume, baby. Build up the resume so that you can get that dream job, so that you can land that premium spot in the NFL or in the corporate world, wherever you are.
I wonder if, and I don't think any of us are old enough to remember this, if back in the day because remember recruits, it was usually you go to the school that's in your state.
Yeah.
I wonder if when players started going to other states, that was labeled as this is ruining college football. And I wonder if when players left after a third year to go to the NFL, because that used to be taboo as well, you would stay your 4 years and get your education. I wonder if it became taboo of, players leaving after 3 years and not getting a full education is ruining college football. We saw it with players opting out, and now that's just the norm. So
I don't think, at least in my opinion, I didn't see this is ruining the sport takes until guys looked up and didn't know their own roster because player movement had happened way too much. I think too much of this gets labeled, y'all just mad kids making money. No, I think people are mad that it's costing them money and they're not sticking around. I think that's what makes the fatigue really, really bad right now is on one hand, I don't know the roster that I have year to year and whether or not a good player is going to stick with me. And if he's good, now it's going to cost me more money.
Yep.
I think the higher end boosters that really, really have a voice to be heard about this with complaints, that's what they're upset about. And by the way, there's a big fear by a lot of these boosters that are already experiencing a bunch of fatigue that when rev sharing models come, and they're coming, we all know they are, that it's not going to do anything but just add to the pot. And these collectives are still going to have to come up with all this money because, Texas boosters are going to do it and Michigan boosters are going to do it and Ohio State boosters are going to do it. So you're going to have to do it if you want to compete.
I do think that some of the frustration probably is, I know that the chat has kind of hit on this already, is I think people kind of had an idea that eventually college athletes were going to be paid. But I don't think anybody envisioned it that it was going to be this high of numbers, these big numbers of we've got true freshman quarterbacks coming from high school to a college program talking about they're going to be making $8 million over their time at a college football program. And I think it is kind of silly to think about they aren't amateurs anymore, but they still are kind of amateurs because they're not the professionals or not in the NFL. The NFL players are making millions of dollars. Not anywhere else in the world are you really finding these amateurs making this lump sums of money.
Talk about a throwback, and we'll end this segment here. I'm all for it. I want to be careful on the player hating nowadays in the chat, but you smoking white grapes, buddy, that's how you know you're young right there.
I love how those mixed in with playing Fortnite. Graduate
to a Swisher, why don't you, child? But anyways, welcome into tonight's show. It's going to be a loaded one for you. Did the playoffs taint the regular season? Well, we may or may not get to that. Matter of fact, I'm going to let you know we're not. I left that in the pre-rundown. It's not making the notes tonight. We got to talk about Jim Knowles. I've got exit interviews for you guys tonight. Ryan Day, Dan Lanning, Billy Napier going to be joining the show, sitting down here, a little one-on-one with those three football coaches here on the channel. New replay rules coming to the college football playoffs potentially. Shane Beamer gets an extension. We'll talk about that. I promised you we've got SEC quarterback rankings. We're going to deliver those tonight. Who's going to win the Super Bowl? I guess we're giving that take tonight.
Are we?
The Senior Bowl?
Senior Bowl. That's what that says.
Reading is hard.
That's what that says. It says Senior Bowl. We'll give you names to pay attention to as practices start tomorrow out there in Mobile. And your boy's been breaking down a little quarterback film. All right, I got film notes for you tonight. Let's start, guys, with a good, quick rundown of what happened with Jim Knowles as of late. For those of you who don't know, Jim Knowles is the highest paid defensive coordinator in the history of the sport of college football. And he was going to be this at Ohio State if they retained his services this year, which apparently they weren't going to. And now there's been conflicting reports. When this news first hit the storyline yesterday, or the timeline yesterday, the immediate reaction was, holy hell, Penn State is out here playing ball. And we'll get to Oklahoma in a second. Penn State out here playing ball. And then all the Ohio State beat reporters start to get a little active. And the narrative starts to come out, not narrative, but the tidbits start to come out from the Ohio State side of this that, hey, man, they were kind of up in arms within each other within the staff this year, starting at the Oregon game. Apparently, after the Oregon game, there was a comment made on Monday, or rather from Nick Saban about the antiquated systems that Ohio State's defensive coordinator was running. And there had been a bunch of busted assignments or explosives allowed in the fourth quarter stats that made Ohio State's defensive performances look rather questionable under Knowles. And Ryan Day went out on Monday after that Oregon game and apparently in front of media said, don't worry, there are going to be changes made. They obviously make some changes. They go on a rather historic run defensively and close out the national championship season. Jim Knowles, highest paid defense coordinator, all that good stuff. Apparently, they made an offer But there was a mutual parting of ways here between Ohio State and Jim Knowles. Now Jim Knowles going to Penn State. Thoughts on this move, boys, before I get to some of the things that bothered me with this reporting?
I find it hard to believe all the time because I feel like mutual parting of ways gets thrown out a lot, especially when it feels like this couldn't have been mutual. Like, to me, this doesn't feel like a mutual parting of ways, in my opinion. Like, it's just hard for me to believe that both sides are like, oh yeah, we're good. Like, you can go do your thing. We're cool without you. We'll move on from one another. Like, I feel like, especially when we know, like, what the offer was from Penn State, what Knowles was kind of searching for. He was already linked to Oklahoma, then it was Penn State, leaves the national championship roster, goes to Penn. Like, I don't know. I have a hard time believing that it's just like, hey, yeah, man, we're good, all good, firm handshake. You go do your thing at one of our rivals. We'll call it even.
I think the mutual parting of ways agreement comes when both sides say, you know what, it's not going to work out. It's probably for the best that we're not together next year. I don't think that it necessarily has to end on good terms. And from everything that we've seen in reports, it's necessarily not that. But it was one of those at first red flag kind of things. It's like, what the hell is going on? What is Penn State doing here that looks like they're playing ball? Or what went on at Ohio State to where this guy wants to leave supposedly one of the most talented rosters in the country that just came off of a national championship that, by the way, beat Penn State this year and has gone further than Penn State ever has in the last 20 years. So it was very interesting to see that. But the fact that it kind of came out that there might have been some tensions there, it makes all this kind of make sense.
Have you ever heard the business term stalking horse?
No, I can't say I have.
All right, so if my and I always am wrong with the definitions of these things, but my interpretation of a stalking horse is when we get into a bidding war, we want to put this old big dog over here, this big thoroughbred horse over here, and make people think that's the one that's going to get us. All right, that's the one that's going to win this race. When in reality, there's this other horse over here that's actually going to run it down and be the guy that you really need to be paying attention to. And you got this other one that you think you need to be paying attention to. Oklahoma was a stalking horse in this entire Jim Knowles race. Oklahoma insiders were out here telling their reporters that this sucker is over with. Jim Knowles about to come to Oklahoma. We even talked about it on the show. Mm-hmm. Hey, Knowles out here getting poached by Penn State was the football program to watch out for the entire time. So I think Oklahoma fans look at this as like, damn, we got used a little bit right here to get a little fat check out of Penn State. It seems like that to me. I could be misinterpreting that, but from a national standpoint, it seemed like Oklahoma is, again, one of these stalking horses, if you will, to drive up this here Jim Knowles asking price.
And should have kind of known, because even us sitting here, when we just kind of like probed it a little bit of like, hey, it might be done Friday. That's if it's going to happen, it's going to happen by then. We're like, Jim Knowles to Oklahoma, it sounds dumb. Well, yeah, because it probably was dumb. Probably was never actually going to happen.
Yeah, because, it's a coming home story at Penn State. Him being from Philly and all. Him being from the farthest corner of Pennsylvania that you can be from. It's a 45-minute train ride to New Jersey, but this is a coming home story out there to Penn State, man. The whole 3.5 hours from Philly, where he is born and raised.
If all the reporting is true of this being, kind of having a falling out middle of the season and Jim Knowles deciding, like, I'm not going to be here next year. This is probably more of a being petty story of I'm going to go to the team that's in the same conference that we have to play usually once a year. I don't know how their schedule works out. They schedule
which would align with the idea that there were some beefs going on. I think the Ryan Day, Jim Knowles stuff has some validity to it. I also have read some reporting about a Larry Johnson issue, their legendary defensive line coach, and him being a little bit of a tizzy with regards to what happened this year midway through the season and some corrective action that needed to be taken. So what you're talking about, the whole, hey, Oklahoma floating, nah, screw that. I'm going to go spurn these folks. We're going to Penn State for a year. What are your thoughts about the actual hire and the actual move for Penn State? Obviously, they spent a bunch of money retaining their roster. Now they're going all in on the defensive coordinator hire for $3 million annually or what the reports are.
Defense has never really been the issue of Penn State. Like the last 10 years you watch Penn State football, it's never really been, they lost that game because they gave up 40 or 50 points. That happens every now and again, but most of the time it has been the offense. They just can't get it done. It was the issue for them this year. So
I think you could spin it into a good thing and a bad thing both. I think obviously the good thing is you have a veteran defensive coordinator who had a lot of success in this conference specifically. Now you could say that his best success was with the most talented roster in college football, but I mean that's just kind of the day and age of college football. So you get the most talented guys, you're going to be successful. But again, a veteran guy that has done really well. But I think also kind of like the bad thing. I feel like this is kind of setting up James Franklin in a sense of, he's always been labeled as this head coach that doesn't exactly meet expectations, kind of always falls below the bar. But this last season, he kind of exceeded expectations, unless you're Christian Kirby and you said they were going to make the Final Four and they did.
Hell yeah.
But makes the Final Four, kind of felt like they were close to a national title, but now it's like Penn State and James Franklin are going to have expectations moving into next year. Like they might be the number one team in the country going into next season because they got Drew Aller and they got some other returnees on offense. I don't know if James Franklin and expectations is a world that I want to live in as a Penn State fan. And then you throw in Jim Knowles on top of that. I think it's a kind of a scary feeling almost.
There's a lot of now this could be sore losing. There's a lot of Ohio State people that are like, hey, if y'all are expecting some 1 year plug, like y'all are going to be the greatest defense in the country, watch what happened when he took over our defense. There was a 3-year peak of actually absorbing everything that it is, because it's not like complex man coverage with simulated pressures. No, this is a zone coordinating split safety defense that requires a bunch of communication and a bunch of understanding. Hey, we play this week versus that, right? We're going to play cover 6 versus this trips look. We're going to play cover 9 versus this. We're going to do certain coverages versus these looks, most of which are zone, most of which require real high levels of retention and comfort within the system, something that you don't necessarily get over 7 months, which is what they got coming up before their first game. So is it that quick? 8 months.
Yeah, I think
8. No, dude, it's way quicker than that. No, 7 months.
7 months.
There's 12 in a year. There's 12 in a year. Had to do that math
News
real
to
quick
me.
in my head. Yeah.
There you go.
I saw something in the chat that I wanted to address. Maybe I didn't. Oh, this is what it is. Who are they going to hire to be the DC at Ohio State? Apparently Mike Vrabel,
Bill Belichick,
Nick Saban,
Kirby Smart.
I heard they're going to get Saban out of retirement.
Luke Fickell.
Yeah, Luke Fickell's going to leave Wisconsin because he knows he's going to get fired. So he's just going to go be the DC there.
Those would be my first 4 phone calls.
Yeah, and then if they turn you down, you call Kirby Smart.
Yeah, that's got to have a plan B.
Yeah, that's right.
Got to have a plan B.
Yeah.
What do you think Kirby Smart's reaction would be to a phone call of, hey,
it never gets to Kirby Smart.
Yeah.
It never gets to him.
No.
In all seriousness, Ohio State fans think they can hire, they can dig up Lombardi. They can dig up Vince and Lombardi and just reclone him with however much money it takes. I mean, with their high level of income, there's no reason to believe that they can't clone Vince Lombardi. But anyways, I think Ryan Day really, really loves his primary defensive analyst. Mm-hmm. I think they're going to elevate from within here. But it transitions us into our exit interviews, boys. Ooh. Now, make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review, and all that good stuff. But boys, this has been a major hit on the local hour, these exit interviews. So we're going to try this on the national side with college football coaches, and we're going to start with the champ. So Ryan, come on in, Ryan Day. I think it's only fitting that we start with the national championship head coach. And coach, I'm going to be honest, since you won a title, I promise to refrain from any beard dye jokes during the next however long this segment lasts. Okay, coach?
Well, I appreciate it. I did get a fresh coat this morning. That bonus came in for me, so I even upgraded a little bit, got the upper tier beard dye.
I didn't say anything about you making the jokes, so I appreciate that right there, coach. Appreciate the assist, man. What a team player you are. I got to say, man, I coached, not to tell you a little background about myself, I really got into long distance running when I got done playing football. And coach, I lost about 75 pounds. I did. And I'm going to be frank with you. The before and after shots of that 75-pound loss don't do shit compared to the before and after weight loss it looks like you have off your shoulders having won this national title, coach.
Well, I'll be honest. You guys put a lot of stress on me because I had all these expectations. I understand understand. We want to win national titles. That's what we do here at Ohio State. That's kind of what the history of this program has been. But after losing that Michigan game, it seemed like you guys kind of put a lot of pressure on me. I have to say my job all of a sudden when I feel like I've done a pretty good job. So I felt like it was only right that we won a national title.
A lot of hostility and defensiveness. I was expecting to see a nice big smile on your face.
Well, I was,
and a good
but then
sense of relief.
you come in here cracking jokes over me when I just did
didn't crack
this
jokes. You
program
crack
a massive
jokes.
favor.
My bad, Coach. I'll shut up. Hey, I gotta say though, welcome to the club, and not the Natty Club that I'm talking about. We know you're in there. I'm talking about the you finna get rated club, because that's where you're at right about now, Coach. When you win titles in this sport, people are coming for what you got. They want what you have. So I'm glad you didn't necessarily like Jim Knowles, which is, I mean, based off the tone of your voice today, I don't think you necessarily like anybody right about now. But whoever you replace him with is likely to probably pardon with you as well. He's probably going to depart from your roster relatively soon, because that's what happens to national championship winning football coaches, Coach. You put something together good and people going to want to steal from it. So I want to let you know this offseason, as you really, really get your feet wet in this interviewing process, get real good at it. Get real good at it, because it's going to happen to you pretty frequently moving forward. I also want to let you know, Coach, I'm going to need you to put some weight on Julian Sayin. I know he's a tremendous arm talent. Everybody out of your building seems to really, really love him and have a lot of aspirations for that young man, but I need him to stay upright and physically ready to take what's coming for him in the Big Ten. And I'm going to let you know right now, if you go a single football game next year without getting at least 10 targets to Jeremiah Smith in every single game, we're going to have talks. But that's really it, man. I'm really, really excited for you. I'm really happy for you. And honestly, you turn the fan base. They're talking about extending you, Coach. So I'm going to go ahead and extend a formal offer to extend you, Ryan.
Well, I appreciate that. And to cover all the bases, I mean, there's a reason why Jeremiah Smith came back. There's talks of him leaving. 10 targets. That's easy work right there. You ain't got to worry about that. Julian saying that was something we addressed before he even came here, was going to go to Alabama. We said, buddy, we got a plan for you. Don't you worry about it. Come to Ohio State. We got all the weapons for you. We got a role and a place for you. So he's already taking care of business there. And as far as the interview processing goes, I think it's going to be nice and simple. We're the big dogs right now. People are going to come to us. It's nice and easy. We'll be able to pick from the litter.
Thanks, Ryan. That'll be it. So go ahead. You can go ahead and exit. Actually, wait. I have one more thing. Just and lean in real close here, because I don't want everyone to hear this, because we did just extend you. Okay. If you lose to Michigan again next year, I'm going to stick my foot so far up your ass, the water on my knee will quench your thirst. Do you understand me?
Coach, if we lose to Michigan next year, you'll never see my face ever again.
On the back of a milk carton. Hey, appreciate you, Dan. Come on in, Dan Lanning, friend of the show.
This guy to be Dan Lanning.
Come on in, Dan. Dan, I got one right here. I got a 10 of Zins fresh for you. A whole 10 of Zins right there for you. Nice and calm, okay? Hey, man, how cool was that 12th man thing you did this year?
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was pretty sick, dude.
Pretty cool.
How many hours were you grinding into the rule book to have remembered that one?
I did a good bit. We have a lot of really good staff that does a lot of the reading for us, and they do a lot of good things, but it came across my desk earlier in the offseason, and I found it and said, you know what, this is something I'd love to explore against the Ohio State Buckeyes. Coach, one of the biggest games of the regular
season. You just strike me as a 20-hour-a-day guy. Maybe 22. When do you sleep?
I don't.
Yeah, me neither.
Just coffee.
Yeah, me neither. Same. A couple cups today before the show.
Clearly, yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell.
So, Coach, man, you've had dynamite selection out of the portal. I mean, tremendous selection at the quarterback position.
Thank you.
I mean, he turned Bo Nix into a real guy.
Yeah.
That guy completed, it broke a record in completion percentage. That's insane.
He had a good rookie season, too. We knew what we were doing.
Yeah, and then
took the right guy.
And then followed it up with a little short lefty. That's pretty cool. Yeah. Dylan Gabriel had a great season, too. You got a tremendous selection process here going on, Coach. Tell me about Dante Moore. You feeling good?
We feel good about him. Obviously, we have a really good track record of our transfer quarterbacks, and we feel like Dante Moore's going to be the next one that takes that step for us and leads us to hopefully a national title this year.
I really hope you get off to a hotter start this year in 2025. But to be honest with you, I mean, you and the boys on that staff, man, y'all must cackle about this schedule you got coming up this year. Huh,
well, I would first argue that, and frankly, I'm not quite sure who you are, if you're the AD or you're the exit interview guy here.
Oh, it's just me. It's just your pal, Brooksy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, pal, Brooksy.
It's just your pal.
Well, I would argue that starting fast and being intense at the beginning is very nice, but we would like to be able to peak at the right time, which is the postseason. Now we learned that the hard way. Obviously, we were very, very good throughout the middle of the season and up until the postseason of the conference championship, but things didn't go our way in the playoffs. So that's more important to us this year.
Yeah, we got to be better there, Coach. No doubt. Man, I think you're like 0-2 in playoff games. 0-1. Is that first playoff game you've ever coached in, Coach? We got to be better against top 5 teams next year as well.
Yeah.
But you don't play any of those, so it doesn't matter.
We play. Yeah. Well.
No, you don't have any.
Not in the regular season. No.
Yeah. No.
We do play them though.
That'll be fun next year. Just get to cakewalk 13-0. Hope you get to break Dante in real smoothly by the time playoff time comes. I do have a bone to pick with you, Coach. I know we're best friends and all, and you spend all your time watching the Film Guy Network in those 22-hour work days you got. But I do have, it's not even really a bone. It's more of a question, Coach. You've been recruiting perennially inside the top 5 since you've taken that job. Phil Knight's money got probably a little something to do with that.
Nice check.
Must be nice. But I haven't really seen a ton of impactful players from your recruiting classes. All of your best players over the last several years, Coach, they've been transfer guys. I mean, Tez Johnson came over with Bo Nix, if my memory serves me correct. Jordan Birch was a great defensive player for you. I mean, I guess there was that Joey Bossa guy, and you got that hybrid linebacker who also is a center fielder for your baseball team. That's nice and good stuff. But, I mean, your entire defensive backcourt was transfers this year. We already talked about what you've been doing at the quarterback position. Where is the homegrown talent, and where is the development of all of these blue chippers that you continue to sign, Coach? Because I got to say, like this coming up year, those guys going to have to ball.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would first say that it has to be a healthy mix of both. You use the transfer portal to supplement the holes that you have. When we came in on this roster, keep in mind, I haven't been here a super long time. This is the first time I've got a class full of guys on my team that I've recruited myself. So I'm kind of getting my feet wet in that. But the reality of it is that the transfer portal that we've used to supplement our players has been a major success for us, and we're going to continue to recruit in the top 5 realm because we do have unlimited money. We can print money at the Nike factory. That's what we do here. Secondly, the fact is that, yes, it takes time to develop these players, and we're going to have to start working on that, and I understand that that's an improvement that needs to be made in my regard, but the reality is, as long as we keep hitting with transfer portals, unlike some of these other coaches that we see, I think we'll be okay.
Deflecting from Dan. It's interesting. I need development of Dudage. That's what I need, Coach. I need development of Dudage on that roster. Okay. I need Phil Knight's money to pay dividends.
Did I hear my name? Phil Knight?
Hey, Phil.
Hey, Phil. Dan, great to see you. I heard some transfer portal
jet
talk.
Black hair you've got there, Phil.
Thank you. Ryan Day actually hooked me up with this one. Anyways, I heard about transfer portal recruiting and anything like that, and I don't really care how we do it. I can pay these kids out of my pocket. In fact, I can put installments from the money I have in my pocket that has a rubber band around it. It's nice and simple. You don't have to worry about that. I have the great idea to get this season off to a hot start. Back in the day, Oregon was known for the cool uniforms. That's what all the kids talked about with us.
Don't worry.
And I heard Kirby Smart talk about this thing a couple years ago. If they do the hunting, so I've got this. Camo uniforms with hunter orange accents.
No camo? Real camo?
No digital camo. Real camouflage.
Trying to blend in with the woods.
Real camouflage. Because we're doing the hunting this year.
Duck hunt.
Camo uniforms.
I like this.
Duck hunt.
Rabbit season.
The transfers are going to love that. The recruits are going to love that too.
Appreciate you for coming by today, Dan.
Of course.
You know what's refreshing about talking to all you coaches? Ain't seen a single agent up in this mix today. Money-hungry agents. I think they already know they're getting 3% of your $100 million moving forward, so they probably don't need to be strong-arming me. Despite the fact that one of you guys, Dan, out here flirting with the NFL. Before I let you leave, do I have a commitment from you, sir?
The Alabama Crimson Tide came knocking last year. I posted a video on social media about how I wasn't leaving for that job. I'm not leaving for the NFL. I didn't leave for Bama. I'm staying in Oregon. I'm building.
I mean, anytime you get to Photoshop your head on the top of the Wolf of Wall Street, you got to take it.
Exactly.
You got to take it. Them's the rules. Appreciate you for coming by, Dan. Let's go ahead and talk on down to Billy. Let's bring old Billy Napier on down. Come on in, Billy. First off, Billy, I want to get off to a hot start. I know it seems kind of foreign to you considering the start to your seasons and, for that matter, the start to your career. A little slow build for you, Billy. I'm going to need the opposite of that just like this. We already had this interview, to be honest with you, Billy, back in October when we decided to give you the old tweet of faith. So instead of an exit interview today, I want to offer a proposition to you, Billy. Here it is. If you beat Georgia this year and somehow find a way to get to 9-3, we'll extend you on the spot. Okay? If you go anything less than 7-5, we get to buy you out, though. We're just going to see you on the way. And if you could, instead of that 85% shave, can we maybe pay you out 75%? But if you go anything in between, we'll just punt this conversation on down the road. How's that sound?
9-3, I feel like you're kind of selling us short this year. I think we got a lot of returning pieces. DJ Lagway, I mean, he even got banged up last year, so we didn't even get to see the full length of an end of a season, DJ Lagway, and he's going to get a lot of reps this spring and going into this season. I think he's going to be really good for us. So 9-3, I feel like that should almost be the floor for us.
You know, I really do love your optimism, Billy, but I just offered you a way out. Okay, a nice, easy landing spot on the moon, and you chose to shoot for the stars. I like that about you, Billy. I like that you're a half-full kind of guy. I felt like we kind of were when we decided to, tweet of faith back in October, and look what it did for us both. Look what it did for us both. You got a tremendous amount of recruitment momentum, and, I guess that's good for you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, because I think this is going to be a long-term thing. And me saying that 9-3 is the floor, that's my courtesy of you stuck your neck out for me and you put it out in public that I was your guy. So I feel like it would only be right for me to excel this program and do a lot better than 9-3 because I feel like that's what this program is and that's what this program deserves.
Billy, I got one major bone, and I've had a major bone to pick with you for a while. It's this idea that you feel that you don't need an offensive coordinator. Now, I know you guys are great on offense. You guys have been really, really good since you've been here. The passing game's been really good. Love what we see from DJ Lagway. Really optimistic about the future there. But what are you doing as a head football coach to really shore up the margins that you seem to lose football games in?
Well, I think that offense is really the major focus for us right now. I think that's where all of our prized possessions are. So I think that does need to be the main focus. And so I think it's only right for me as the head man to make sure that that area is where we are excellent at. I think that our defense really started to improve as the year moved on. And, special teams, well, I can't remember who it was. I've kind of followed and unfollowed him a few times. I see this guy all the time say special teams doesn't matter. I think his name's Austin, something like that. So I really don't think special teams matter that much either. I think if we score touchdowns, we're going to be fine regardless.
Billy, you have. I want to get to the bottom of this. Why have you followed, unfollowed, refollowed me over the last 12 months? What's going on there, Billy?
Well, just like you and every other media pundit, you're so hot and cold on me. I don't have time for hot and cold.
Oh!
I either need you to be all in on the Florida Gators or I'll kick you out the door. So if you want to jump on board now because it feels like our stock price is pretty good, I would recommend getting in on us now rather than middle of the season when we're undefeated, going and playing undefeated Georgia as well, and it's a top 5 matchup.
You know what? That's all sweet, all that big tough talk that you just had. I think in reality it's because I ranked DJ Lagway 1 in my offseason quarterback rankings, to be honest with you, Billy. I think you're a front runner just like I am. So let's not be out here staging for the folks out here, capping, as the kids would say. All right, it's a little bit much. But hey, you can't waste this quarterback talent, Coach.
Not going to
do it. And if you do, you out of here.
Fair enough.
We good?
Good.
Hey, shout out to the exit interviews. We enjoyed doing those, man. It's good time.
We're not doing the fourth one?
Oh, no, just the 3 today. I didn't prepare the 4th.
Okay.
I figured 3 was nice and tight. Anything more than 3, so says PJ Fleck, you lose the attention span.
PJ Fleck
says got to keep it in 3s. I heard that in a coaching seminar.
You went to a coaching seminar?
No. Watch it on YouTube. Ain't got shit to do out here these days, man.
I'll say you went to
People don't watch content, so I got to go learn new content. So, yeah, keep it in 3s. Keep it tight. And Bible all about 3s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There you go. Shout out. Unfortunate transition. Shout out to our friends over at BetUS. If you have not checked out BetUS this season, you need to do so. Use promo code YouTube150. You get 150% deposit match up to $2,000 on your first time deposit and up to 125% deposit match up to $2,000 on your next 2 deposits. Guys, that's a deposit match on your first 3 deposits over there on BetUS. Cool thing over there as well. Also got a live casino, gentlemen. Live casino. Go ahead. Run off after this show today. Put it on black. Actually, I like red 18. Put it on red 18. See what happens.
Wow, classic Peyton Manning story.
Shout out to BetUS, promo code YouTube 150 over there today. Some new rules for the playoff, Kirby.
Supposedly, a new way that rules are enforced.
Proposal. Rules committee got on a knee, popped the question, do you want a universal committee of referees, a non-biased rule or committee of referees reviewing these plays in the playoff? That is what they proposed.
Yeah, and I mean, this felt more like an olive branch from college football than anything. Like, one, you're going to get people complaining about the refs no matter what. I think doing this just kind of mitigates the fact that when it's Notre Dame and Ohio State playing in the game, they can't blame, it's because we had SEC officials or because... But
you will still have conference officials on the field. You will just have this unbiased group of officials deciding replays.
Correct.
That's to be clarified there.
But I think that's kind of the symbol of it, and that's kind of them trying to say, like, here's the olive branch of this. It's all going to go through this head level thing that kind of the NFL has right now, where there's headquarters that they go back and they watch all the replays to confirm or deny things. I don't think it's going to change too much of the game. It just seems like an olive branch to get fans to stop complaining.
Save the whales.
Get the fans to stop complaining. That's funny.
They can do their best. It's never going to work, but...
I mean, it feels like one of those things where it's like, hit your layups, buddy. This is one of those layups. Yes, let's insert something that's labeled as non-biased, something that the NFL does. We're going to have this group of people sitting in an office reviewing plays, making sure it's 100% correct, and removing any potential biases on the field, when in reality, I mean, you couldn't possibly do that. But yeah, it feels like a good option and a safe option, I guess you could say. But
we've also known through the years that even though you have a replay official, doesn't mean they're going to get things 100% right.
No.
It doesn't. It hasn't eliminated any of the bickering and bitching on social media. So if that's what they're in attempts to do. They're not going to
screenshot Twitter. Always going to find it.
Always going to catch dubs. Let's move on. I think it's an important rule, I guess, to talk about and to let people know about, but I don't think it's going to make that much of a drastic impact.
No, it's not.
And also, now they're nameless and faceless. Now you have no idea who to throw a brick at. So that's unfortunate for you as a fan. You don't even know who to direct your anger at. Just a nameless and faceless op. So that's unfortunate for you. Normally, you can blame the SEC office. Big 10 officials suck. Get rid of these Big 12 officials. They have no idea what a real football looks like. You got all those jabs. Now you don't. Shane Beamer got an extension this week, boys. They extended him through 2030. This ain't that old Brett Venables extension.
No, this is
We saw that one last year where Venables got a quote-unquote extension and a statement from his AD about how they believe in him, and they really gave him an 18-month extension with $1.5 million pay bump. It wasn't nothing. All right, or it was nothing. This one's real. All right, this is a sign that they think this is their guy moving forward. And we've always asked about the standard at most of these programs. That's something we've talked about on this network. What do fan bases feel like there should be the standard for the program? I think Shane Beamer, in my opinion, as an outside observer, has done everything to almost increase what fans think the standard should be at South Carolina. He's basically averaged 8-4 over the last 3 years. And I think this was warranted. He has proven that he can get South Carolina consistently in that range that I think they should be in, 8-4. I don't think they should be in a perennial playoff discussion like he does, but I think this is where they're at.
Well, I think that's the problem here. Like, one, I don't think Shane Beamer has modeled himself consistency. Like, I don't think he's a model for consistency at all. He's coming off a year where this time 365 days ago, we were like, fired. This guy's a dead man walking. So, like, for us to say, like, oh, he's consistently getting him to 8-4, one, I don't think that's feasible. Two, I think that this is coming off the back of hey, we were a bad LSU call away from we were a playoff team this year. We were going to do the unthinkable, and that's why I should get this extension. I'm your guy. It feels very much like that. I don't think that right now Shane Beamer is the model for consistency or is going to have this South Carolina team consistently, hey, they might be a program that makes the playoff this year. I think this was an opportunistic extension for Shane Beamer. It happens all the time when coaches have great seasons. Gus Malzahn did this in 2017 when he got that Auburn team this close to a playoff off 2 losses, beat Alabama, beat Georgia. They were both number 1 programs. Like, it felt very opportunistic and very good for Shane Beamer. You just got a contract extension. You're making way more money now, but I don't think this is necessarily the right or wrong hire. Extension.
Yeah, I mean, this feels like we've had so many instances over the past couple of years in college football where it's been like a premature extension where a coach does really well one
Marky
year. Mark Stoops.
Mike Norvell.
Yeah, Mike Norvell. Like a lot of these scenarios where, man, you did really good this one year, and I feel like the extension kind of overshadows maybe what could be on the cusp of this coming year because and all the talk is around Lenore Sellers, and rightfully so because he is a very talented quarterback, but they lose a lot on that defense. They do return Dylan Stewart, but they lose Nick Emanwari, the starting
Kennard,
safety, Bam Martin Scott.
Sanders.
I mean, they lose a lot of pieces on that defense that they're going to have to replace. So I think that this really should have been the prove it year for Shane Beamer. Like, I don't think that, and I understand, like, you kind of have to capitalize off of your opportunities. If you got to do it now, you can't hold out too long, but doing it now as opposed to like waiting maybe just another year, I don't know. It feels a little risky, but at the same time, Shane Beamer might be your best option in South Carolina.
And to counterpoint my own self, where was Shane Beamer going?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Where he going to leave you for what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm with you in the sense that it wasn't like he didn't have any leverage.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was we like where the direction of the program is going. I think South Carolina fans are relatively happy with what the program's doing right now.
Absolutely.
You've beaten Clemson 2 out of the last 3 years. Like, why would you not be happy?
All right. Also, something to be noted real quick. I do think Shane's dad's connections have really helped him. And I can't track the wikis and the crossovers and the connected paths and why the trees are connected. But it is very clear to me that Shane's hiring practices are both veteran. He's hiring older football coaches at coordinating positions, particularly on the offensive side of the football. And he has this odd connection to the NFL as well. Hired Dow Loggins off of NFL rosters off of NFL staffs last year, replaces him with Mike Shula, who he also had as an analyst last year on his staff. He's kind of loaded it up with older, more veteran football coaches that, like I said, have had paths with the NFL. So just an interesting hiring process that I thought was worth talking about. Also worth talking about, my SEC quarterback rankings. Now, I cowardly did this. I did this like the Cowardly Lion? Is that who it is in the Oz or Wizard of Oz? Mm-hmm. I did this returning starters and first-year starters to avoid having to project something that I don't
list?
know. Yep. I did separate lists.
I think that's smart, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's
probably
smart
not as good
too.
engagement farming.
No. It's not as hot takey and it's not as engagement farming, which is probably why this show is just a complete failure. I'm just kidding.
Whoa.
I went hot takey.
You went hot takey?
I gave a whole 14.
Oh, okay.
Or actually, I think I'm missing a couple, yeah.
There's 16 teams.
Well, I gave 14.
All right. Returning starters. Should I go to the board and write these or should I just give them out?
I can get Epic Pen up if you want.
Nah, we're good.
Okay.
Returning starters. Number 1, DJ Lagway. Number 2, Lenore Sellers. Nico Iamaleava. Iamaleava. We got 3 different pronunciations right there. Number 4, Garrett Nussmeier. Number 5, Diego Pavia. Number 6, Taylor Green, the Human Hospital. Number 7, John Mateer, which I spelled matter on my notes. Number 8, Marcel Reed. Number 9, Jackson Arnold. Number 10, whoever the hell Kentucky's starting.
Oh, that's what I forgot.
First year starters. Here's my list. Number 1, Arch Manning. Number 2, Gunnar Stockton. Number 3, Ty Simpson. Number 4, Austin Simmons out there at Ole Miss. Thoughts, questions, comments, concerns?
Jackson Arnold's really low on that list.
You buy Jackson Arnold stock? Because I got plenty to sell for you.
I'm not buying Jackson Arnold stock, but I'm not dumping that he's like the bottom tier of college or SEC quarterbacks at least. Like, he wasn't great at Oklahoma. He wasn't fantastic. I mean, there were even times where he just wasn't good, but I don't think he's...
My question to anybody buying Jackson Arnold stock, what makes you think he's about to just magically outperform what Peyton Thorne just did in that offense?
Yeah, I did it as... Like, I had on my list of 14, excluding Kentucky and Missouri, I had him at 12 just because when I was kind of doing this, I was like, Would I take Taylor Green over Jackson Arnold? Yeah, I would. Would I take John Mateer over Jackson Arnold? Yeah. Bama's future starter? Probably. I just kind of did it that way. There's a lot of names I would take over Jackson Arnold right now. I understand the scenario and the tools he had around him last year at Oklahoma were very up and down, had a lot of injuries. Maybe not the best situation for him, and it'll be better at Auburn, but I don't know. I just kind of think that maybe that offense isn't really set up for you to maximize yourself.
Yeah, I think we talked about the Michael, what's his last name?
Michael Van Buren?
No, for Oklahoma.
Oh.
He came in during the
Jackson.
Hawkins.
Michael Jackson.
I mean, the Hawkins, Jackson football brain.
The Michael Hawkins kid came in last year, and things looked better in the Tennessee game, and everyone was like, oh my God, he is so much better than Jackson Arnold. Jackson Arnold is just a complete bust. And then it turned out he wasn't really that great either. Jackson Arnold ended up winning the start again. So it might just be the Oklahoma offensive system is broken. So I'm not buying Jackson Arnold stock by any means, but I'm also not like
You're not buying like inside 24/7's top 10 college football quarterbacks. Jackson Arnold buying?
No.
Yeah, me neither. I think that's pretty crazy.
Where'd you have Sellers?
I had Sellers number 2.
Okay.
Behind
Lagway.
Okay.
I'm a flash tapes quarterback guy, especially for young guys. I mean, there ain't no flashier tape than what Lagway's put on.
I agree. I
do believe that he's going to clean up a lot of the turnover concerns that you saw in year 1.
I had Nico number 1.
Yeah,
just because like when I was thinking of all these quarterbacks, like I think Nico is the safest and cleanest option of a returning quarterback that you could have going into next season. Of this guy protected the football, this guy continued to put his offense in winning positions,
his nuts
and
off.
Competed every single down. And even in football games where it's like, oh, this dude is about to throw an interception, he's about to turn the ball over, he never did. He continued to protect the football. He never really was a reason they lost the game outside of one missed clock management play, which we all remember. But I mean, I think Nico is like the cleanest returning prospect that you have in the SEC right now and has the most answers right now as him as a prospect.
I thought listening to the opposing coaches talk about him after playing him was confirmation of everything that I was seeing. Like you listen to Kirby after the game, and he's like, we couldn't get that SOB on the ground. We could, if that guy wasn't who he was today, they have no chance to move the ball.
Yeah,
I think it's basically what he said after that football game. And that's the way I felt about them. Now, early on in his playing time this year, there was a clear, hey, buddy, we got to be quicker with our feet when we move our eyes first. There was a lot of feet lateral and perpendicular to the line of scrimmage. Those are two different words. Feet perpendicular to the line of scrimmage. We can't be having that at the quarterback position. I thought he cleaned some of that up throughout the year. Pavia coming back is big for Vanderbilt, but I don't know. They lose an All-American tight end. They had a transfer out off of the offensive line, leave. I just don't know, and I'm not very well versed in the Vandy roster. Who is? I think that's kind of the point.
I think the case of Vanderbilt is going to be Pavia is one of these scrappy guys that you don't really want to have to go up against just because of what he brings from an emotional standpoint. We all know that there's a clear limit in skill set and things like that, but I think it's also Vanderbilt's now become one of these teams where it's like, ooh, you don't really want to play them because the brand is so gross, but they play a type of football that really mucks it up for you.
I think there's a pack of 4 signal callers at the top of this conference right now, and agree or disagree with me here, in whatever particular order you have. Nussmeier, Nico, Sellers, DJ Lagway. I think those 4 have kind of, and maybe Mateer based off what he's done. Maybe he's one of these statistical production guys because he's lit it up over the years. My question to you, of these first-year starters, Arch, Gunner, Ty Simpson, Austin Simmons, who might vault themselves into that upper pack of guaranteed dude at the signal caller position?
I mean, I think that the really
obvious
and easy answer is Arch. If Ty Simpson is what everything that Bama fans have been saying he is and everything that can't.
Lunch pail. Coach's kid.
Ty Simpson.
Grinder.
The hype around Ty Simpson very much reminds me of what you heard from Carson Beck. Whereas like 2 or 3 years of this guy's killing it in spring. This guy's doing great at practice. He's decent. Wait till he gets his chance. And I mean, Carson Beck was a fine quarterback, a good quarterback for Georgia. I don't know if Ty Simpson's going to be the all elite, otherworld beater that he's apparently being in spring practice in the offseason and camps and things.
You know
like
who
that.
will be a whole hell of a lot more comfortable?
Kalen DeBoer.
Kalen DeBoer and the play caller. I think they're going to be far more comfortable running their actual system. And it's something I harped on with the transition from DeBoer from Washington to Alabama. Hey, never had one of these quarterbacks. And they did a good job in the quarterback run game, designing things for him. but man, did they become one-dimensional and reliant upon him running the football and Ryan Williams bailing us out in the passing department. Everything else was very, very stagnant and unpredictable in terms of performance and outcome. So I think the passing game will be far more what we saw with Michael. It might not be as dynamic as what Michael Penix, I guarantee it probably won't be as dynamic as what Michael Penix and that group did at Washington, but I think it'll be a little bit more air raidy, if you will, in terms of the actual concepts that they're running.
So did you rank the first-time starters, you think, or did you just list them out?
No, I had them ranked: Arch, Gunner, Ty, Austin Simmons. Now, I understand what Austin Simmons did in that drive against Georgia, and I was on the sideline thinking, ain't no way this guy's doing this.
Right.
Holy shit, Ole Miss is going to be a problem the next time. I had the same feelings. However, I understand the reason, the optimism behind Ty Simpson. I understand the optimism behind a guy who can process. I believe to be able to process and read the field, and a offensive coordinator and designer like Kalen DeBoer, who is dynamic in his passing game concepts with a great decision maker and processor at the quarterback position. The pairing of the two is why I have optimism for Simpson. It's why I liked DeBoer at Washington. It's why the decision to take Will Rogers before coming over to Alabama made a lot of sense. This is a guy who's had 5,000 career attempts, or however many it was, at Mississippi State. He's seen all of the coverages. He's going to be able to process your system really, really well. I think Simpson's going to be able to do that as well. And by the way, I think Simpson's legs, they're not dynamic, good enough, good athlete. Okay. It's the highest ranked quarterback to come out of the state of Tennessee in 20 years, I think. Guys, this isn't some coach's kid that's been on the roster that's a slappy. He's a highly touted kid that Saban wanted and prioritized.
So what do you think about Austin Simmons then? Because you started with that and then
uber talented.
Okay.
Uber talented. I want to see. I think in terms of arm talent and the ability to rip the football, he's a little bit more talented than Ty Simpson. Okay, and the system's far more favorable to a passer, especially knowing that he's been in it. I think the Alabama system's going to change tremendously, guys. I think that goes without saying.
I think that's fair.
Do you think the fact that they're going to be going through another offensive change in this short of time is going to have a negative effect on them?
You talking about Alabama?
Yeah.
Well, no, because you're getting into a system that you're more comfortable in. I thought last year was the anomaly for DeBoer.
But you've got guys now that are going into their third year of Alabama, having to learn their third offensive system. That's got at some
The terminology won't change, though.
It's just
which portion of the playbook we're using.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's a little bit different than we have a whole new language that we're speaking.
That's fair.
We're just dusting off the portion of the language that we haven't used since install, essentially. All right. While we're talking about quarterbacks, guys, I got film notes. I watched Jackson Dart, which, by the way, our NFL draft series has kind of flopped like a wet fish. So don't worry. We're changing back to college only this next study. We're going with a Lenore Sellers film breakdown tomorrow here on the network. Hope you guys actually show up for those while we take a break from the NFL and the draft process. But I want to talk about this because I did some work on it, and it took me some time, and I think these are quality notes about a football player you guys have watched for a long time in this conference, and it's Jackson Dart. I watched Dart and broke down that film today, and I think my takeaway about these three guys, who I think are the first round caliber football players that I would invest in at this point in the draft, and the research process that I'm doing. I love the competitive character of this class. I don't think there's a superstar amongst them, or at least a guaranteed, I know this guy's going to be a hit, let's go ahead and take him inside the top 5. I don't feel comfortable about drafting any of these guys in that area. However, I love their willingness to compete. I love how they down to down aggressively put their team in a position to or a chance to win, right? On any given down, they got a chance to win. All of them are willing to take shots while taking shots, right? All of them are willing to take hits. Shador and Jackson far more than Ward, all right? But they're willing to stand in cloudy pockets and rip the football down the field, something that is needed on the NFL level. All of them are willing to put their body on the line. Again, Shador and Dart a little bit more than Cam Ward. Of all of the quarterbacks that I've studied so far, though, Dart has the most stones inside the pocket. The Shador Sanders film that we watched, the Cam Ward film that we watched, was agonizingly painful because of the willingness to go backwards in pockets, all right, and not step up and be willing to take shots off the chin while delivering shots. Dart does this. Dart steps up vertically inside of pockets with a willingness to both take off and throw the ball down the field. I love his ballsiness inside the pocket, if you will. He's not going to step out. He's going to step up, and I love that about him. And he's going to maximize the concept when need be. He's an extender and a creator by nature, and I think he does a really good job in college, and it's going to have to tone up a little bit more, a lot more in the NFL level. I think he does a good job of towing the line that all playmakers, extenders, and creators have to toe between being aggressive and being dangerous. All right, we don't want to be Will Levis. It's something we talked about on the film study. We don't want to be a guy who's putting the ball at risk, but we still want to maintain that ability to create and extend plays like he always does, or like he has been. I love the fact that in the first year in the system at Ole Miss, he threw 11 interceptions, and then the next 2 years ramped up his attempts even more, okay, and ramped up his control of the offense even more, while combining over the last 2 years as a starter to throw 11 interceptions. So when I see a guy who over 2 years has 750 career or attempts rather in playing that level of competition while only turning it over 11 times, I see a maturation in the decision process, right? I see a maturation in the decisions that he's making from within the pocket. I do worry, like everyone else in this draft process is going to worry about, the arm strength and his down-to-down mechanics, because they are not perfect, all right? He does have a tendency to overstride. He will get off the midline a little bit too far, and like we would say in baseball world, step in the bucket, open his shoulder, fly out, if you will, in the baseball world, right? Doing one of these. We don't want to fly out. We want to stay on, stay firm through the point of contact and past contact, right? Same thing when we throw balls as a quarterback, especially if we don't have one of these elite, scary, freakish arms where, okay, we overstrided by 2 inches. Don't worry, my arm's going to catch up. No, it won't. Your ball's going to flutter on him, and it's going to go the other way in the NFL. And I honestly do believe it's why he's a career 64% completion percentage, which also scares me about this guy. All right, not a lot of turnovers, but how are we only completing 64% of our passes in an offense at Ole Miss that I know is going to give you 7 to 10 layups every single game? We're going to start every single game for Lane Kiffin having 8 completions in the bag. On Monday, he's going to have us for him, whether it's screens, whether it's tunnels, whether it's quick game, whether it's automatic winners that he's designed. We're going to have completions already entering the football game. How do we manage to only complete 64%? I'm telling you, it's a down-to-down inefficiency with regards to his mechanics. I do believe we open up a little bit too much, and we can't correct with our arm because we don't have a super special one. What I love most about this guy, however, is his ability to layer the football vertically, okay? He has tremendous touch, and he makes wow throws down the middle of the field, stuff that you have to have in the NFL. The player comp for me is Bo Nix, all right? I think this is about 80% the athlete and the arm talent that Bo Nix is, but he's 20% bigger. All right, he's a thick man, all right? And we saw that with the measurements today at the Senior Bowl. We measured in 6'2 3/4", so almost 6'3", 229 pounds. He's a big kid.
So 2 questions for you then. Where would you see him going, and what round do you think he would become a steal?
So here's what I'm going to tell you. Instead of answering that question, here's what I've decided off of these 3 evals. If I had to take a starter going into this draft, if I felt like we cannot play next year unless we draft a quarterback this round, insert team, here's what I would do. I would draft a position player with my really high draft pick. If I'm Tennessee, I'm taking Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, whichever one fits me best at number 1. And then I'm trading back into the bottom of the first round and getting that 5th year of a Jackson Dart. Okay. And I'm just going to take this one, and I'm going to hope that his competitive character, his ability to lead, his 40 some odd games starting, his proximity to a football mind like Lane Kiffin is going to allow me to have a serviceable starter while making the rest of my roster much better, and hopeful that we clean up the mechanics. Because if we do, we're good. I don't like the catastrophic mistakes that I see Cam Ward make, and I don't like the idea that I have to draft Shedeur Sanders inside the top 10. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think Shedeur Sanders is an NFL starter. He's my QB1. I don't like him inside the top 10.
Nope.
I like him at 20. I like him at 25. I like him with a good offensive line. I like him at Cleveland. That's what I like him, right? But I don't like him going to Tennessee.
Or Vegas.
I think the Vegas thing is going to be good for you, to be honest with you.
Good
the
fit.
idea of Shedeur Sanders throwing deep overs to Brock Bowers makes me a little randy because the ball placement is going to be phenomenal.
Hopefully. I hope, man.
Who's going to win the Senior Bowl, boys? Last topic of the day. Who's going to win the Senior Bowl? Give me some names over the next 2 days that are really, really going to drastically improve their stock. I've got a couple of names here for you, starting with Kyle Kennard.
That's a good
out of
one.
South Carolina, measured in almost 6'4", about 240 pounds, and had a tremendous year this year getting after the quarterback. I can imagine him doing some dubbing. Big dubs in the chat. Dubbing
Let him fly.
in one-on-ones. Kyle Kennard.
I like that pick. I had I had two defensive linemen for me. I had Deion Walker out of Kentucky. Feels like Kentucky
already won it with the measurements. 6'7", 340, big dog.
Massive. Kentucky. It feels like Kentucky always has a line of scrimmage guy that goes out there and flashes. I think Deion Walker would be that. And then I had TJ Sanders.
I like TJ Sanders. This is a good pick. What a underrated guy. Went flying under the radar.
Yeah.
Now during the season, at least because of Kyle Kennard, because of Dylan Stewart, now projected as maybe a first-round draft pick out of South Carolina at the defensive tackle position. That's a good one. I wanted to go back and circle back on the Deion Walker pick. Shockingly bad body. Shockingly bad. Like when you see him in person in street clothes, you're like, huh?
You play?
And then you see Buddy move, and you're like, what? So, yeah, Deion Walker going to be one of those, see him in street clothes at the old meat walk, and you're going to be like, I don't like that. And then you're going to see him in pads moving around, and you're going to be like, interesting. Interessante. Who do you got?
I've got Emory Jones as a guy, I think. And when he kind of came into the season where LSU was labeled as they have these two stone walls, impenetrable boundaries at offensive tackle.
Will Campbell got the love this year.
Yeah, Will Campbell got the love. I think he can kind of earn a lot because they take 3 offensive tackles the first round usually. I think you can definitely, if you have a good performance here and follow it up with good measurements and good things like that in the combine, he can definitely walk away as a winner of this one.
Top 5 name. Armand Mimbu, offensive tackle from Missouri. A little bit under 6'4", probably going to have to kick into guard. I've seen some of the highlights from my man Mimbu. When they're not asking him to dive at people's ankles on the backside of wide zone, this guy's put on some phenomenal tape this year at Missouri. Interested to see what he does this week at the Senior Bowl. Another name for you, I think Arian Smith might have a chance to make some people look stupid in one-on-ones. Just fingers crossed he catches the football at the end of it. However, could you imagine having to cover Arian Smith with no help out there? You're just all by yourself. We got 10-1-8 right in front of me. I think he's going to have a chance to make some people look goofy.
My one-on-one winner at the wide receiver position. This one feels almost too easy, but I'm going to get it out there. Xavier Restrepo. He feels like an obvious winner for this type of setting of let's go do some one-on-ones, route some people up.
Xavier Restrap, no.
Ooh, that was bad.
Man, you should tweet that.
I don't think people are talking about
do numbers.
Will
Let
Howard.
James cook.
That's a good one, though.
Restrap knows not, though.
No, that's trying too hard. Let James cook is just, it flows right in. But I don't think people are talking about enough about Will Howard and Ryan Leonard. They're coming off of 2 games where you were the quintessential, everyone watched you in the nation.
They measured in.
They're measured in. I mean, they're on.
Are they going to practice?
They
I
accept.
thought all those Ohio State guys were sitting out doing interviews.
They're on the invite acceptance list.
I know, but I thought they were just going doing interviews, not practice.
Maybe I don't know what the detail is, but I think that they can.
I don't see enough dubs in the chat. I
guess not, but I do think that they could probably make some money in this because Shedeur's not going to be there, Cam Ward's not going to be there. The guys that are supposedly going to be first round quarterbacks aren't going to be there. You're going to be the center of attention at the quarterback position.
I think the quarterback that has the biggest opportunity, not Jackson Dart for me, I think it's Dylan Gabriel.
Okay.
I think Dylan Gabriel has, especially from that aspect of who could grow their stock the most, like who could be the biggest riser out of the bunch. I could very easily see it being Dylan Gabriel because there isn't a whole lot of chatter around him being one of these quarterback prospects that people are going to take a stab on. But I think that he could really make some noise at the Senior Bowl.
Throws a tremendous foosball, does Dylan Gabriel. Hey, we got a whole nother hour coming up right now after this short break. Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog?
Let's shut up and grab some tape.
Welcome back, everybody. This is the local hour, the Talk the Dog hour, and that's what we're about to do. We lost one of our members, Kirby. Between the 30-second intro music, Brooks is up and I guess he got a bigger offer. During the national hour, we were talking about these better offers come along. Everybody asked that they ain't going to take it. I guess the phone rang. He got a better offer and said, I don't need these two bozos anymore.
Well, the funny thing is he came and got the can of Zins off the desk, too, because he loved
got to take the essentials,
So,
you got to get all the important
stuff. He's trying to stick his head in right now. There he is.
Long line at the bathroom?
Yeah. I always worry, because I got this lav on me at all times. I always worry that I'm going to leave the lav on while I'm taking a leak, and that would not be good television. I see streamers doing that all the time. I think they do it on purpose. Nowadays, I feel like all these Twitch jokers are just, plotting and scheming, not actually doing like ad-libbed content. I feel like they're just, hey man, god dang, this board looks really, really good. It always has. We never show all of these photos.
Yeah.
They never get shown. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the way. There's some good stuff. All right, I'm going to see how good you are at this camera operation. Got the local hour. Should Georgia fans be worried about the Jim Knowles news? We'll tell you why not. Monroe Freeling, a little bit of news around him today. Georgia absolutely litters the top 100 most watched games of 2024. Georgia Bulldogs littering the Super Bowl as well. Brian Schottenheimer news, a little Schotty news on the show notes today.
That's a good one.
Schotty news?
The pun you had there was good. Much better than Restrepo.
Schotty news?
Yeah.
I wasn't going for anything there. We got a big board for you as well. We're going to take a look at the offensive guards in the 2026 class. What would it take for Ryan Puglisi to actually win the job? We're going to talk about that tonight as well. And I think the boys got some nostalgic tape from me.
We have a couple of them for you.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Let's start with the news. But first, let's start by giving a quick shout out to our friends over at BetUS. If you're looking for a new place this season to get in on the action, head over to BetUS. Use promo code YouTube150. You get a 150% deposit match on your first time deposit up to $2,000 and 125% deposit match on your next two deposits. Again, that's up to $2,000, and that is promo code YouTube150 over there with those guys. Boys, Monroe Freeling, it was announced today, underwent shoulder surgery to repair some damage that occurred this season. Going to expected to be, quote, limited in the spring. I'm going to go ahead and tell you, probably won't be in pads at all this spring. I bet he's going to be limited and running on air and staying in shape and paying attention.
So I feel like this is the third year in a row where we've had a story like this where so-and-so is having something to clean up an injury that they had earlier in the season that they played through. They'll be back come yada, yada, yada. Is this one of the examples where it's something to worry about? We had the Brock Bowers when it was like, it's Brock Bowers. As long as he's on the field, he's fine. I think Smile had something dealing with this last year where you had guys that had like true starts, and Monroe Freeling has started this year. Is it something you worry about more because you think he could benefit necessarily more from time in spring? Or
so here's the deal.
Another case of
have you noticed all the shoulder braces and the cuffs that folks are wearing nowadays? If you see one of those, just assume that guy's about to have corrective labrum surgery in the offseason. Monroe played with one basically all year this year, and it's an indication you're probably tore something in your rotator cuff. Players are getting bigger, faster, and stronger, and we're taking the head out of football more and more and more and more. All right, so if you're a linebacker playing football nowadays, if you're a defensive back playing football nowadays, I can almost bet everything that I love and everything I have in my bank account, you are not escaping this sport without tearing your labrum at some point, because we put our arms out and we extend ourselves too much and we get ripped through. I'm not going to give him any excuses, but if we go back and look at Monroe Freeling, photos of Monroe Freeling in that Sugar Bowl, I would venture to say that cuff is on his left shoulder, and he got beat with speed rushes on that left side quite frequently. You know why? Can't put our hand pressure right there. Will you double check on that and see which shoulder that's on? Let's go to the board right now and talk about what the depth chart ultimately looks like at the tackle position now in the spring. All right, and I'm going to be honest. I think this is, it's never good news to lose a starter in a spring time period where you actually need guys to get some development and have some ability to build some rapport and play next to each other, especially when you got a bunch of moving parts. But I feel like right now, sitting here today, everyone listening to this agrees that Monroe Freeling Freeling is one of your 2 starters at the tackle position. The question is, who's going to earn the right to be with him, right? And is it Ernest Green? Is Ernest Green going to come back with a vengeance? Is he going to play much better next year, right? That's one of the questions. So this spring, I think you have an opportunity to provide a real high level of competition at that offensive tackle position. So let's talk about it. Monroe Freeling, I like to list the tackles no different than we list corners, all right? Don't even bother doing left and right. Just list them 1 through whatever. List them top to bottom, okay? So right now, I do believe Monroe Freeling is at the top of this tackle list, all right? We saw that happen towards the end of the season, despite the fact that he did have a bad performance in that Notre Dame football game. We're going to put him up at number 1. Number 2, right behind him, you got Ernest Green, right? The returning senior, the redshirt senior, started for a redshirt junior, actually, has started for 3 years now at the University of Georgia, going on year 3, I should say. Put him right there. Number 3, all right, you got Ja Jackson, the big offensive tackle prospect that was playing basketball, that's 6'10", 360 some odd pounds. All right, it's a big spring for Ja. If this guy gets hurt, that's like, oof, right? We lose an entire 15 weeks or 15 days of real development time for this guy to be baptized by fire this spring, as if he wasn't last spring. Number 4, all right, we're going to take a look at a gander at a football player like Bo Hughley. Another absolute massive offseason for Bo Hughley. The big question revolves around, how big can we get, Bo? How much weight can we put on this offseason while really going hard in practice, okay? Number 5, I'm going to take a look at a guy like Jamal Merriweather, all right? Now, been on the roster for a while, guys, and kind of just been a placeholder, all right, on this roster, but a tremendous looking body, much better looking than my handwriting.
You were doing so good till you got to 5.
Till Jamal Merriweather, and then we got on that angle, and let's give it a deep squat right here.
There you go.
Let's give it a deep squat.
Short king.
Number 6, let's take a look at a pair of freshmen. All right, a pair of freshmen that were banged up this year, both of them. All right, we're going to tie them together right here. Marcus Harrison, the big joker out of, I believe, I always mess this up. I think he's out of Mass, maybe Jersey. Nair Daniels, definitely out of Jersey. Bergen Catholic, my man. Nair Daniels. All right, both those big jokers, north of 6'7". Both of them struggled with injuries this year. Lower body injuries, too. I think both of them had cast their feet.
Marcus Harrison is out of New York.
New York. The Big Apple, I think is what some people call it. So there's your depth chart. Thoughts?
Left shoulder, by the way, from Monroe Freeling.
Yeah.
The brace.
How about that? CBK. Certified ball knower.
There it is.
With one of them weird football photographing memories.
It feels weird. Do you think it's, I mean, obviously Ja Jackson's size is so tremendous and so and he's such a traits play that you have to try to put him in there, but do you think that he's the 3rd best tackle on this list, or do you think he's the 3rd guy that in this rotation right now?
I think he is a football player with the highest ceiling of them all. And Georgia, more so than any program that we really cover on here, is a ceiling program. Yeah. They care about your ceiling first, and your down-to-down performance second. And if your down-to-down performance is good enough to play you, and your ceiling's incredibly high, we need to go with that. Okay. Now, there has been a real move towards these big, tall, long, massive tackles. I have always preferred athleticism and technique and fundamentals. I don't know how much Ja's got, but in the pass protection department, I mean, I just got to get in front of you. And I'm the biggest human that ever played football. So I'm going to cover a lot of ground in front of you. I'm going to cover a lot of space in front of you, going backwards. All right. And you're going to have a limited amount of time to actually get home or get around me. It's the run game I worry about. How well can we actually uproot? How well can we get out? How much can we stretch the point, right? How much can we move guys off of against their will and create separation at the line of scrimmage? And I also worry, when you're that big, how well do we block in the screen game? Like how well are we releasing into the boundary and picking off most dangerous men out there, right? Those things I have questions about. That's what really elevated Georgia's offense, in my opinion, against Tennessee. Monroe Freeling's ability to get out and block extended players and run them all out of the picture and allow ball carriers to cut up and get north to south. That was a major difference in this offense, the athleticism that he provided.
Chat is asking where a guy like Juan Gaston fits into this mix.
Yeah. I got 2 question marks over here, and I'm glad the chat got to them. All right, first and foremost, Juan Gaston, you hit the nail on the head. All right. The next question I have is, where does a guy like Micah Morris, who has played, all right, tackle? Now, you talked about it in pre-show, Kirby, and everyone immediately when you write that name was, we need him to play guard. Yeah, you need him to play guard. But what if he's one of your best tackles at right tackle? Like, what if that happens? And do you find that out during the spring and maybe kick a guy like Juan maybe into guard, right, to start his career? I don't know. I think one thing that also has changed my mind, and this is going to sound really goofy because I don't watch a ton of NFL football, but watching guys like Mekhi Becton kick into guard at 6 a building, you know what I mean? To be that big, to play a position that for years has been kind of, hey, if they're over 6'4", they're going to have a tough time with pad level. It's interesting to see all of these guys that are bigger at tackle move into guard. You know, it's just a thought. I think maybe football might be changing a little bit with how those things are decided.
So then, since Michael Morris is kind of a discussion point, where do you think they have more of a surplus at the guard or tackle position coming into the year?
Here. I think they have more playable answers at tackle right now than they do at guard.
Okay.
In my opinion.
So then...
And guys that have played. Like, Monroe's played. Ernest has played. Micah's taken snaps at tackle before. You at least have 2 starters that have played. You don't have that going on at guard. You have 1 in Micah.
So then which of these guys on this list would supplement the, hey, we need guards depth?
All right, potential swing players.
Yeah.
You're going to have to, I think, if you're an agent of Ernest Green's and you're not having the conversation about, hey, maybe we're a guard, you're not doing your job about having tough conversations with your client. I think that's part of you got to be a truth teller every once in a while at that position. This is too light, not happening. Maybe Jamal. These 2 guys are too long. I don't think that's happening right now. So really, you don't have very many guys that I think are swinging inside. And even him, I think there's a reluctancy to do it, and you're going to have to talk him into doing so. And right now, this spring, ain't the time to do it. You're not going to be able to practice with Ernest getting reps at guard. You're going to have to practice with him taking reps at tackle. So we nixed any discussion about, is Ernest maybe going to be a swing player next year? Any more thoughts, questions, comments, concerns about the depth chart?
It's an interesting situation to be in for them right now, because I feel like there's a lot of answers that they have, but there's not bona fide, like...
Oh, buddy, I feel this way about several positions of questions, or position of question going into next year. I feel this way about safety. I feel this way about center, right?
Yeah.
I feel this way about wide receiver. You threw a bunch of bodies at it, but did you find any answers? We're going to have to find out. Right? There's no holes in the roster.
No.
I didn't feel like they didn't do their job at filling any problem areas. They went out and took bodies at positions that they had questions at.
If things don't work out for Georgia this season, it'll be because the players and the talent that they got was not adequate enough to... It created holes as opposed to, like, they didn't fill the holes.
Yeah.
And that'll never happen at Georgia as long as Kirby Smart's there, in my opinion. I don't think you'll ever come into a season, barring there being catastrophic injuries or suspensions or other things like that, where you come into the season and say, oh, they are not ready at this position. They don't have what they need right here. Now, you can come into it and say halfway through the season, oh, the guys they have did not live up to the hype. This is now a hole for them. We saw that last year. But I don't think you're ever going to come into a regular season week 1 and say, they're not prepared for this year.
Yeah, the player development staff and the roster management staff is just too good, and they have too many assets to come up short and have major holes on the roster. Let's be quick here because it's been talked about enough on this network tonight. Jim Knowles, hired by Penn State. Should Georgia fans be worried? No.
No, they shouldn't.
Yes, because Ohio State has a massive budget and they think they can get in the room with everybody. No, because Glenn Schumann's not taking lateral moves.
I think it's something to...
No, because Ryan Day already has his answer, we think.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's a good talking point and it got clicks.
I think if you needed to be worried about a Georgia fan, then you already would have been told that you need to worry by, oh, Glenn Schumann, name kind of popping in on this mix of defensive coordinator candidates for Ohio State. That tends to be how these things happen of, hey, putting this on the forefront, his name's in the mix, kind of want to preface this a little bit. Haven't seen any of that whatsoever outside of maybe some dum-dum tweeting it.
Yeah, I don't think that you need to look at Glenn Schumann right now, a guy who has supposedly turned down head coaching jobs, DC jobs at the NFL. He's probably not going to leave Georgia right now because, by the way, it's not like he's paid very, very mid. Like, he's one of the higher paid defensive coordinators in the NFL or the college football realm. So
All right, it's a good time right here to move to our super chat right there. Give me that name going up on the board here. Cody Strickland going right here next to my man Rory Gonzalez. And can you read off Cody's question for me there? Strickland, right?
Yes, Cody Strickland from Taylorsville, Georgia.
Hell yeah.
Who's the top receivers next year, top yards, top TDs? First come to mind, go.
Zachariah Branch, top yardage. Noah Thomas, top touchdowns. Boom.
Is that top receptions too?
Yeah, I think Zachariah Branch is going to lead the team in receptions. I think you're going to have him turn into a serious, yards after catch weapon. That's what I think. What about you guys?
I think I'd take Bell as most touchdowns.
Sneaky pick, Oscar Delp?
Not bad.
We did tell him in his exit interview we were going to give him the rock in the red zone.
Did tell him that. Might need to honor that.
Is Georgia's offense going to be more predicated on yards after catch or being able to throw the ball down the field?
Both. I think you're going to be at near behind the line of scrimmage team, deep shot play action team. I think you're going to be slants, bubbles, RPOs, deep shot play action rollout.
Okay.
That's the offense that I would design.
Mm-hmm. So Zach,
I wouldn't be asking Gunnar Stockton to rip sail routes.
No,
I wouldn't be asking Gunnar Stockton to read a cover 2 flat defender and rip a corner.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask him to roll out on play action, rip the Dover, or throw it 65 yards to the backside post that's running clean.
So in that case, is Zachariah Branch kind of both for you? Because it felt like last year, Dom Lovett was your, hey, let's get some yak here, let's get some screens going, and then let's get Aaron Smith on our deep balls. Is Zachariah Branch both of those guys now?
I think Zachariah Branch might be your vertical, field fade guy from the slot.
Mm-hmm.
Basically what Tech did with Nick Singleton forever against you. I think you do that against teams that dare to play man coverage next year.
Because this is also true. And
Gunnar throws that ball really well.
Yeah, because they really didn't have an X position last year.
They never have.
Yeah, but
I love George Pickens as much as the next guy. He was so fun to watch. 3 years, 10 games. That's what George Pickens' career at Georgia was.
No, it was more than that.
He started 10 games, Kirby.
It was more than that. I promise you it was more.
It wasn't.
I think so, dude.
It wasn't.
I think he missed
his entire freshman year. He didn't play a ton. He had the one big game against Baylor. The 2020 year or 2019 year was some troublesome. I think that was the year he missed the Florida game.
First year.
Or excuse me, 2020 was up and down. Tore a pectoral muscle, bench pressing. You know what I mean? So, didn't play a ton is the bottom line there with Pickens.
Just like another example of didn't exactly get to capitalize off of that opportunity.
Didn't
the exposition has been for the ever since.
Ever since. So I'm with you. If Georgia gets an X receiver, they're totally different. If Noah Thomas develops into this, he's digging deep right now.
Well, I'm trying to find start numbers. They usually have it on the website.
Well, I feel like this is always a reaction.
How many games played? Even that.
I can pull that up. Give me 1 sec.
I feel like this is always kind of the reaction, though, of obviously, George should be remembered for how great he was when he was on the field because it was constant highlight plays and whatnot.
The most individually talented wide receiver they've had since AJ.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Should be remembered as he is, but then when you say, but you only got to see him for a handful of games, it's dang, you're kind of right.
You are right.
Give me 10 seconds.
How was your day, Jonathan?
It was good.
I like that shirt you got on.
What? Tarjay.
Tarjay?
Tarjay.
Hell yeah.
Found one of those sneaky heaters in the back corner.
A sneater?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, he appeared in 20 games.
Appeared in 20 games.
Appeared, yeah.
He started all of 2019.
That was his freshman year.
Yeah. I don't know if he actually started all of 2019.
Bottom line.
I agree. The game logs was not there. It's not like he had an illustrious Georgia career.
No. And it wasn't on Georgia. I don't think.
No.
Should we get to a big board?
Another one?
Yeah, we should.
Do we have some good ones? Have you watched these or just?
I haven't watched any of them.
I haven't watched any of them either.
I can't remember who it was, but one of these guys on their huddle profile, one of the highlights was just titled "Bad." Don't know why that's titled that. Don't know why it is in there.
One of them good bads?
I guess maybe a bad man.
I'm a bad man.
I don't know, but that's what it was titled.
There goes that bad man.
But I haven't watched any of these, so I'm excited to watch.
All right, a name we've already watched was Lamar Brown. He was one of the 5 names that we made you watch as a must-watch and must-know name entering this class. That is the offensive guard that we watched a couple weeks ago playing tackle in high school. Let's go to the board right now and watch Pierre Dean, Desmond Green, Carter Scruggs, Graham Houston, and in the most recent decommit from Tennessee, Brandon Anderson, an in-state target. Let's take it to the board now.
Decommitted today.
Just decommitted. That's what I said.
Oh, yeah.
Just decommitted from Tennessee today, so that'll be an interesting watch as well. All right, so I need to grab my phone in case we have questions about heights and weights on these football players, because I do have their official measurements. Because your boy's kind of plugged. I don't know if y'all knew that. Boy's kind of plugged in around these parts nowadays. All right, let's take a look. This is Pierre Dean right here, number 56. I like the athletic build right here already off rip. We look like a big old power forward, don't we? Mm-hmm. Not a lot of bad weight and not a lot of tech right here, guys. Not a lot of tech. I ain't going to lie to you. I understand why they're projecting him to be a guard. What we don't see right now, look for twitch in the feet. Okay, the body looks really, really good. Don't get me wrong, but I don't see a lot of foot fire right here is what we're looking for. If we're transitioning or translating, I should say, a high school tackle to whether or not he can play college tackle, look, not just the body type. Look at the feet, man. How well do the feet fire, and how quick is he on his feet? We're looking for big man twitch at these tackle positions. There he is playing defense. He's a hunter. Looks like on defense. Bit of a leaner, Curb?
Yeah, I mean, upper body strength is clearly really, really high, but like you said, not a lot of feet fire, a lot of a lean. Will get pulled down if he doesn't fix that a lot.
Yep. And look, I think the propensity to be out here is because we don't have that twitch to bring our feet back up underneath us. Okay,
is that something that can be developed? Do you think? Or
I can't teach you to be twitchy, man. That's something you either have or you don't. Right? I'm gonna get the official measurements on this cat in a second. He looks to me on film to have a tackle body. All right, but we're having to move inside because of the things that we're pointing out right here with regards to the foot fire. So if we know for a fact and we agree that he's being kicked into guard, what we're looking for now is violence in the hands and whether or not he's a consistent finisher, which I think we're showing up with on tape.
You know what I also don't love about it?
What's up?
Is he rarely looks at what he's blocking at the point of contact. He will usually stick his head down, watch.
Ooh, we have a very light football player here.
Where we got like 250.
Yeah, I mean, the last, and I don't know how recent these measurements are, so this kid probably hadn't been on campus in a while. I got 6'3", 250 right here for Pierre Dean.
Look at me, I got one.
Yeah, you did. He looks far more athletic as a defensive player than he does as an offensive player.
Whoa.
Yeah, he got big, long, violent hands. Yeah, he's got almost 11-inch hands, and he's got 34-inch arm length. So he's got plenty of long arms, just not a tremendous athlete.
But upper body strength like that, do you think he'd be better served as a 3 technique?
You can't play defense at Georgia. Man, you're a freak playing defense at Georgia normally.
So you can't just be like a really solid player.
No, I don't think so. I think they tried that with Marlon Dean. I don't think it worked out. All right, let's go. Shout out to Pierre Dean. Let's look at Desmond Green right here. Now, Desmond Green is another one that's, it's a big one right here. This is listed at 6'4.5", almost 350 pounds, boys. We should see a thickums right here.
Ooh.
Oh. He's got to be. He's only 6'5". He carries 346 really well. Playing guard in high school, that's good to see. Not going to have to worry about a transition of moving inside. A little bit heavy on the nose. Where are all the good football players, man? Where are all the blue chippers, Kirby?
That's a great question, man.
Where, it's across the board, too. We watch the national tapes, and we're not that impressed.
Mm-hmm. What is it? Because
I have no idea. Because in college, I know what they're bitching, moaning, and complaining about.
Here's the other thing.
We can't get them to work hard. They got too much money. That's what college coaches complain about. I don't know what high school coaches are complaining about.
Well, it's not even that. It's not like we've been progressively saying, because that's how it would go.
This is a drop off quick.
It should be like a progressive, each year the talent gets a little less adequate. It feels like this year in particular, it's just a quick drop off.
Yeah,
which makes you think it's just a coincidence.
Maybe it's just a 1 year blip in the overall scouting profiles across the board. You know who he looks like?
Is he 65?
No, this run right here when he gets up. This next clip, they're right here.
I was gonna say Vince Wilfork.
Saul McKinley. That's who it reminds me of, especially when we started to see this gait in the open field, and just generally this weight carrying he's got going on right here in this innards. All right, from the lower pectoral down to the knee. I felt like Saul McKinley carried 300 of the 340 that he played with from nips to kneecaps.
Yeah, probably.
And this is what this guy's got going on, I think. That's the only reason you can carry this much weight relatively well. I need to see some pop, man. I need to see somebody other than Lamar Brown. There's no doubt why Lamar Brown's the highest rated guard on the board. All right, we've seen that tape. We know what it looks like. I need to see something from Carter Scruggs right here. Can I see something from Carter Scruggs right here, please? All right, let's take a look.
On screen? No.
Okay. Some finish.
Finishing.
Some finish. Now, they just took a visit to Carter Scruggs, I'm pretty sure. Why are we opening? We're pulling. Yep.
That's the same play.
Yeah, it is. We get some end zone cuts.
Interesting splits.
Yeah, we understepped ourselves here. We got a false step here. I think there's some cleaning up in this stance. I think we got too much weight on our hands right here. All right, we need to play in our heels and in our we call it insteps. All right, we need to play on our insteps a little bit more right here. That's why we step backwards right here with this first step. You see that? Mm-hmm. Does have some power in his hips, though. He can uncoil a little bit.
He stays under balance very well.
Yeah.
Clearly spends a lot of time in the chute.
Okay. All right. That was a good track right there. I love how he stayed disciplined and on his arc. All right. He is blocking all the way back. I'm pretty sure they're running counter. So his backside inside linebacker, he's all the way back. All right. So that's his guy. Now watch him on the way here. Not chase the color that's running across his face. He's staying on his track and on his path. And if you stay on your path long enough, it will take you where you're supposed to go. Wham.
Has an interesting stance. Like
yeah, man. You know what it is, Kirby? I think we're a little tight ankled and tight hipped. Mm-hmm. We need to do some Saigon squat. You big Saigon squat guy, Kirby?
I don't usually do those.
Oh, come on, man. Got to open up the hips and that ankle dexterity. That's what we need.
I don't need that anymore.
I had a offensive line coach. Shout out Coach Badowski. Coach Badowski played for the Falcons back in the day. Coach Badowski used to make us stand on the stadium and hold the railing of the stadium and get into the deepest squat we humanly possibly could with heels down. Okay, trying to get that Achilles to really stretch out, trying to open up those hips. All right, reason being, when we get into stances, we want to be able to bend at the ankles and at the knees, right? We don't be hip benders. We want to be bending at the appendages or the actual things that are supposed to bend. Appendages are your hands and your feet, right?
That's a good point that someone in chat's bringing up of, is this the senior class that was in 8th and 9th grade during COVID? And they're basically playing at a junior level, do you think?
See, I gave the 2022-2023 class that break. The kids that were hitting puberty in the middle of COVID, where their body's growing and they're doing nothing but sitting on the couch eating Funyuns and Dum-Dums, those guys got tremendously fat. I mean, all the offensive linemen in 2022 and 2023, they were grotesque human beings. They were very, very large people. Everywhere I went, I saw bad body weight on line of scrimmage football players. I don't know what this is. I do like the idea that we're searching for answers. I think it just may be one blip of a bad class. But here's what's scaring me even more. All the good players in 27 are jumping into this class. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's why. The Bowman kid hopped into this class. A running back hopped into this class. A quarterback hopped into this class. Some of the best 27 players are jumping up into this one, probably because they see the overall blue chip ratio kind of dropping in this class. We got a finisher, a thick-bodied finisher. This is a kid who for years, I don't know what school he's from. Let's take a look. Yeah, VA. This is a kid for years played in the Big Ten. Just lived in the Big Ten, developed in the Big Ten, went to Wisconsin, Ohio State, Penn State, one of the Michigan, developed into a 3-year starter, 5-year guy, goes on 3rd-round draft pick, 4th-round draft pick, plays in the league 8 years. That's what this has been for years past. Maybe that's why they're going up into this range and in this region. All right, Graham Houston, an in-state football player. All right, I've watched a lot of Buford football over the last couple of years. If this is a take, it's one that I've missed, and I'm going to be honest with you and tell you I missed it. Is this him, number 75, maybe? Yeah. All right, this is why I think I missed on this. All right, so this kid was playing interior offensive line at Buford, and then Braden Jacobs transferred out of the left tackle position to Milton. He gets kicked to left tackle, and this is what he puts on tape. This is against Milton right here. It's a big football team right here. That's a Barry.
Violent.
You get a guy up off of his feet and flat backed within 3 yards, you got some uncoiling of the hips. We've defied his angles really, really quickly. This is him against Roswell. Do you know what I'm going to negatively say about this clip right here, Kirby?
Let me watch it again. Didn't really do much on the double.
I'm more worried about catching contact on the second level. We do not run our feet through this highlight block right here. We are not putting helmet screws on screws, running our feet, exploding through contact. We're catching contact right here. At the next level, catching contact is a bad recipe for disaster, okay? Watch as he approaches number 20 right here, okay? Right, and now I know he fires late. We're getting off to the block late, and we still have the ability to throw our hands. All right, but I do feel we are receiving that contact just a little bit as opposed to running our feet through it. I want to see an explosion there, not a reciprocation of it and then pushing his momentum to the left of us. I want to run through it. Get our head across. All right, it's against Benedictine. They're playing good football teams, guys, left and right here in the state of Georgia. So the comp's really, really good. He rolled over a linebacker. That's a DB, to be honest with you. The drip's not bad.
No, not bad for a tackle.
Drip's not bad.
I'm a big quarter sleeves.
I think he's got cutters on, too.
He does. That's an interesting choice.
That's I think that edge rusher's committed to Texas A&M. It's number 11. It's a good football player. I like the body lean right here. We stay with good inside pressure and lean. Did we throw a dart, Mr. Rayola? No, we did not. We got our guy killed.
Was that KJ?
No, this is this year.
Oh, okay.
His brother is quarterback now.
Okay, some finish right there. Is that Thomas County Central? You got some dudes on that field, too. It's a good quality in-state prospect, is what it looks like to me.
I think this is one of the better ones we've seen.
It's the cleanest tape from top to bottom that we've seen. All right, I'm in on Graham Houston. Now, let's watch Mr. Brandon Anderson. Brandon Anderson just decommitted from Tennessee. Okay, he's a North Cobb High School prospect. All right, and I believe has a Georgia offer. I think recently got one.
Mm-hmm.
A big gruesome, laborsome finish right there.
Ooh, a little swing at the end.
All right, I can tell you right now, this is it's a body that's going to need some work based off what I'm seeing right here on film. So we're going to have to clean up some things. But maybe that's why he's getting kicked into guard in terms of a projection.
Look, it's Cherokee.
Skip pull onto the second level.
Not bad.
Mm-hmm. All right, so he definitely has a lot of mass to him. There is no doubt about this. I want to get the official measurements on him. I always felt like this was the cleaner prospect, though, this left tackle that North Cobb had for a couple of years.
He seems technically sound.
Just not a lot of wow to his physical build.
Yeah, but I think that's also like that can be changed to some degree. Like, I mean, obviously, like, there's only so much you're.
God, what a run.
Yeah, but if there's any reason why he's getting interest, it's because of clips like this. I'll tell you what, knowing what I've known about the player profile that they recruit, if you don't finish, you're not going to get playing time at Georgia. If you don't, I think one of the comments that I've heard was they judge how much you care by the reaction you have to your teammates' big explosives. In other words, if you don't go try to touch your teammate on a touchdown run, It's a massive negative for them, right? If you're not efforting, if you're not finishing, it's hard to play this position. It's a very selfless position.
Go ahead and watch the running back on that play.
The running back?
That's what I was watching.
Watch the running back.
Oh, shoot.
Poor safety. Them Cherokee County boys don't know what hit them.
Shout out to the Queen brothers, or son family duo, father-son duo. Botched that. Let's get a height and weight on my man right here. Brandon Anderson is 6'4", 335.
Could you see him going into guard, or is that what he's projecting?
Oh, no, he's definitely going into guard.
Okay.
There's no doubt about it. We're going to be a guard, and we're going to pray and live and eat and breathe off of uprooting 3 techs. That's what we're going to do. We're going to be big thickums, getting guys up off the ground.
He seems technically sound enough to do it.
Yeah. I'm not like incredibly bullish on anybody in the class. That's what's tough right now. And by the way, everybody that I talk to, it's not just Georgia that's concerned about this, because every other program recruits the piss out of this state. They're all in this state constantly. And there ain't that many blue chip guarantees around this state right now.
There's not a ton, but I mean, it's nationally too.
Yeah. Georgia, all over the top 100 most watched football games, huh?
Yeah, so there was a list that came out today. It was actually pretty interesting, and it listed 1 through 100, the most watched games in college football this year. Obviously, the national championship, a lot of the playoff games were up there. But Georgia played in 13 games this year, and 11 of them were ranked inside the top 100. All 11 that they had ranked inside the top 60. So I figured that would be kind of interesting to go through. The most watched game that Georgia played in this year was Georgia and Texas in the SEC championship. That had 16.6 million. Second most was the Sugar Bowl, obviously. Third was the first instance of Georgia-Texas. Fourth was Georgia and Alabama. Then Tennessee, Georgia Tech, Clemson, Ole Miss. Interesting one here, though. Georgia versus Kentucky was the 37th most watched game this year. Would you like to guess what that was a tie with?
A game.
Yes.
That one time that those two teams played on a Saturday.
So Georgia versus Kentucky pulled in 6.6 million viewers this year. That is the exact same amount as Penn State versus SMU in round 1 of the college football playoff.
Oof.
Not a great look. And then Auburn, Georgia pulled in 4.93 million. So, I mean, it just shows that Georgia...
What was the viewership number on that Duke's Mayo Bowl that South Carolina played in?
I have no clue, but I can pull it up for you if you...
Because here's what we stumbled upon. We stumbled upon a take this morning while doing the Jackson Dart film study because of that comment right there. Oh, the first round playoff game sucked. Not a good look. Ain't nobody going to these bowl games anymore. Nobody. The second deck was completely empty in that Ole Miss Duke game.
Ole Miss and Duke. The South Carolina game, Illinois-South Carolina pulled in 4.3 million.
Okay.
Which, I mean, is somewhat respectable.
That's not bad. That means basically anybody's watching football.
Ole Miss and Duke did not make the top 100 list.
And I think that's what, that's what that game would be. Penn State and SMU would be playing in the Tax Slayer Bowl on December 26th at 5 o'clock at night, and nobody would care. But now at least we have to pretend to care about the first round playoff game at home. Do you see what I'm saying?
No, because that game did the same amount of numbers as Georgia versus unranked Kentucky in week 3. That's supposed to be the game where it's like, hey, this is what we all signed it for. These are the games that matter now. We're taking meaning away from regular season games because we're adding it to the end of the year. And meanwhile, you can't get 7 million people to tune into it.
Do you see that that one nerdy professor wrote an article in the Wall Street Journal and placed value, it put values on college football programs? Did y'all see this?
No, I didn't actually.
Yeah, he went through, basically treated college football programs as if they were professionally traded organizations and established values on those programs. Do you know where Georgia finished? Well, you don't know because you didn't read the article. But do you know where they finished? They finished 4th.
I would assume, I was going to say 3 or 4.
Finished 4th behind only Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, and that's it. Texas, Michigan, and Ohio State. Ohio State was number 1, worth $1.9 billion. Georgia worth $1.34 billion. Not my main takeaway of this article. My main takeaway of this article is the fact that I need to figure out who in the hell Ohio State's accountant is, because somehow Now, I know valuations and dollar statements are two totally different things, but somehow Ohio State's out here claiming that they lost $35 million on athletics this year. Mm-hmm. I'm calling dubious.
Is this the Ohio State football program?
This is the Ohio State Athletics Department has claimed a $35 million loss this year. I'm calling fugazi.
Oh, definitely.
I'm calling absolute bullshit. I'm calling I need the accountant so I can tell the government that I lost money this year and get away with it. That's what I need to do.
If you're losing $35 million, if that is true, like if you're actually losing $35 million when you're bringing in over $1 billion, you're doing a lot of things wrong in your football program. That's all I'm going to say.
Or your accountant's doing a lot of things right.
Hell yeah.
Or that.
That's
or
what
that.
I think the accountant's far better at his job than they are at losing money.
Mm-hmm.
That's my main takeaway on that one. I mean, Georgia's an SEC program that played major premier matchups. They're going to be heavily watched.
So wait, Georgia was the highest ranked SEC, like true
Correct.
SEC program other than Texas, who joined the SEC this year?
Yes.
So where was like Bama and Oregon?
Didn't go that far into the notes.
Okay.
I can pull it up pretty quickly, but
No, I mean, that's just interesting. Like, I guess you don't really realize how big the brand Georgia is until you get into these national discussions.
Well, I think they're a big brand. And then I think what you're also getting into is because of their recent success, anytime you get, and that's happened a lot because they were down quite a bit this year, and especially at halftime, anytime you got that ESPN alert of Georgia down 10 at halftime versus unranked Florida, or Georgia tied at half with Kentucky against unranked Kentucky on the road, everybody's pillaging in on that game because they either want to hate watch or they want to watch a crazy upset happen. They want to watch a field storming happen.
I mean, with the exception of Auburn, Georgia trailed, with the exception of Auburn and Georgia in the Clemson game, Georgia trailed by 2 scores or a score at some point in the second half of all these games.
the chat has stumbled upon a way more interesting discussion topic than what we are currently in, and that is better Georgia career, A.D. Mitchell or George Pickens?
A.D. Mitchell.
A.D. Mitchell certainly has a more memorable one. I mean, he made 2 of the biggest catches in Georgia football history.
Who had better stats?
But more
George
fun
Pickens
to watch.
had better stats.
More fun to watch. George Pickens.
Yeah.
George Pickens for sure.
I mean, you could make the argument, and it's a very, very, very good argument. You don't have 2 national championships without A.D. Mitchell. You can't really make the argument without George Pickens. He had a really good catch against Alabama in the national championship, but...
So a former offensive coordinator was just named the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, yeah.
To much scrutiny, but Brian Schottenheimer. Now, I was in the midst of losing tons of football games and suffering some brain damage in the midst of the Brian Schottenheimer years, but I don't remember Georgia fans speaking very highly of Brian Schottenheimer.
They did not.
So I went on a little research trek today, trying to figure out what exactly Brian Schottenheimer did during his time at Georgia, to come to find out he won 9 football games with Grayson Lambert as his starting quarterback.
They won 10 that year. They went 10-3.
10-3, won 10 football games with Grayson Lambert as his starting quarterback, and thus concluded my research of Brian Schottenheimer.
That's all you needed to know?
That's all I needed to know.
That was the season where Fat and Bada got a run.
That's how you pronounce that?
Fat and Bada.
Fatan Bauta.
Fatan
Bada. Fat and Bada sounds way better.
Pass the Fatan.
Yeah, just to kind of put that season into, like, put a nice bow on it, like to give you a nice quick cliff notes on how that year was going. That was the year where they beat Missouri 9-6.
Stephen Curry's doing a little bit of what I call hustling backwards here. He averaged 26 points per game. You think that's a negative?
Look,
Grayson Lambert.
brother, they went to overtime against Georgia Southern that year.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Bad
I mean,
it was a bad year.
Hell yeah.
There aren't a lot of glamorous moments for Schottenheimer that year, and I get it. Like, I understand why there was he was under a lot of criticism that year. But if you just take like a 5-second look at the stats reference from that year, you were either throwing the ball to true freshman Terry Godwin, good wide receiver.
Shout out.
Malcolm Mitchell, good wide receiver. The list then goes to Jed Blazevich or Jay Rome.
Elite tight end prospect.
So, like, it was either give the ball to Sony Michel 30 times a game, or we're throwing it to number 5 or number 26.
Keep in mind, this was also the year Nick Chubb blew out his knee midway through the season. So, I mean, things kind of didn't work out in his favor, but it was a was a bad year.
Can we name an offensive lineman from the shot?
I was about to say, like, try and name me an offensive lineman from that year.
Theus was there.
Was Theus still there?
It might have been his last year.
I think that was John Theus.
Theus was like 12 to 16.
Something like that, yeah.
Tyler Catalina.
Was he that year? I thought he was Kirby's first
Catalina wine mixer.
There it is.
I thought he was 2016.
You might be right.
Is that an Isaiah Wynn year?
Yeah. Yeah.
Potentially early?
Yeah.
Because
if he was playing that early.
Isaiah's last year would have been 2017.
David Andrews was not on this team. 2014 was his last year.
Ben Cleveland signed in 16?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So it wouldn't have been there.
Yeah, keep in mind, like, this is also the year that got Mark.
This would have been Cublano.
I was about to say
center.
Cublano. That's what I was thinking of.
That's
what I was thinking
Cublano at center.
Man.
Yeah.
Fun fact about Cublano that I always have to reference when he comes up, snapped with both hands.
Good for him.
When a shade tech was on his right shoulder, he'd snap with his left hand. When a shade tech was on his left shoulder, he'd snap with his right hand.
It's pretty cool.
I thought it was badass.
This was also the Jake Gaines year, I'm pretty sure.
The one where he proposed to his wife?
No, this was like the year Jake Gaines had like 130 tackles or something.
Shout out UAB.
The UAB transfer after they shut their program down. So, I mean,
good stuff.
So we say all this to say it's kind of wild that 10 years later, Georgia fans are going, oh, that guy who was our offense coordinator is now the head coach of arguably the biggest brand in the NFL.
That guy's got a billionaire crying on television.
Yeah. So, I mean,
hell yeah.
Shout out
weird, by the way.
Shout out to Schottenheimer. Good for him, man.
Big shotty.
From the ashes.
Just the proof that you ain't dead until you're officially dead. You can always revive that baby.
Hell yeah. What would it take for Ryan Puglisi to win this job? And the only reason we're talking about this tonight is because you're doing it. You're doing it already. All right. I got two people. All right, in the Georgia fan base. There is no in between. I got the one Georgia fan who has already declared Gunnar Stockton to be the next Heisman Trophy winner. And on the other side, I've got the Georgia fan who is already predicting Ryan Puglisi to win this job. So let's talk about what it's actually going to take. It's going to take explosive and traitsy play in practice without turnovers or mental mistakes. He's going to basically have to play perfect because I do believe, despite how traitsy he is, despite how physically gifted Ryan Puglisi is, I've always talked about it. The number one way to not be the quarterback at Georgia is to throw interceptions in practice. And I'm not saying he does. I'm saying he's going to have to go this entire spring not only playing better than Gunnar and being more explosive than Gunnar and being more like the ceiling as an offense looking higher with him. He's going to have to do so without the lows of a first-time starter or a first-time guy competing for a job like this. And not only that, it's going to have to be undeniable because I do think there's going to be a emotional aspect to this. The fact that Gunnar Stockton, I believe, is a leader of men in the sense that he's not going to walk up and stand in front of the room and command a leadership. But what he is going to do is have people naturally follow him. I've watched this happen to him throughout his career as a football player, of people just naturally gravitating to number 14. So Ryan's going to have to outplay that and overcome that as well, because I do think this team this offseason is going to be clamoring for someone to take a leadership role. And Gunnar's going to have it naturally without having to try to do it, if that makes any sense at all. Especially the transition from going from a quarterback in Carson, who by all accounts and everything we've heard from the building, approached this year much more as a professional. All right, I'm going to show up, do my work, I'm going to leave. I'm not going to do any extra hanging out with the team. I'm not going to do any extra, hanging out with the guys. In fact, most of that time is going to be spent elsewhere. I'm going to show up, do my job, and leave. Look, college football is a lot more about the day-to-day emotional ties with your teammates, and I think all of those ties with this football team this year are going to reside with Gunnar Stockton, so you're going to have to outplay that.
Just got some breaking news for you. The Georgia Tech game has been scheduled for Black Friday once again, so they'll be playing.
I'm not finding anything that's
they're going
to play Mercedes-Benz too.
Yeah, the Georgia Tech team 20 minutes ago just posted their schedule, and it's scheduled for the 28th of November, which is a Friday.
It's so weird because Georgia, when they released it, had it as a 29th. So that must have happened like in between all of that. So
Georgia Tech, that. Black Friday.
I knew it was
I kind of love it, honestly.
I do not like it. I can't.
Buddy, hush. We get another Saturday free.
That's what I'm saying,
I understand that. I will not hush on this topic.
Sorry, my bad. Go.
I'm just saying that
man really said hush. What the fuck?
being in Athens, like covering that game on a Friday, everything just felt off. It was very weird. I'm just talking about like that day. Like for us, it's great because you're right. We get to sit on rivalry weekend on a Saturday, and we get to watch football from noon until 9 from our midnight on our couch, which we don't get to do a whole lot of. But
I get to be a degenerate. I get to
from that aspect, it's great.
Smell like football as a fan. You know what I mean?
Smell like football.
I can smell like I sat on the couch for 7.5 hours.
So it certainly has.
And 8 Uber Eats wings.
Uber Eats. Okay. But yeah, I mean, it certainly has its pros and cons. But I knew as soon as the ratings were going to be through the roof because it went to 8 overtimes. I was like, they're going to put this thing on Friday again. They're going to do it.
Dude, bring it on. Maybe we'll go to a game on Saturday.
Should we bring on that nostalgic tape?
We got 3 of them.
We got 3 of them?
3 of them.
We got time for 1 or 2, yeah.
Well, let's do it. Let's do nostalgic tape.
Oh, give me 1 second. There you go.
No cheating. Are we ready?
Yes.
It's a little hot in the stew today. I'm not even going to lie to you.
You are wearing a good bit of layers.
Yeah, layering's important during this time of the year. Huh. I got a defensive player right here. This is going to be tough. Oh, no, this is Mallard Creek, isn't it? So this is Jordan Davis.
Mm-hmm. This is Jordan Davis.
We wanted to watch this because we think it's interesting to watch what he was coming out of high school.
I've never seen this.
And he's honestly not as big. Like, not nearly as
thin.
big. The body's completely different.
Oh. Like a big old lurch out there, doesn't he? How did he go from this to a guy? How did he go from this to a guy that immediately, once he got on campus, they were like, hey, bro, put the Swedish fish down?
Yeah.
Immediately. As soon as he got on campus, they were like, bro, if you're ever going to play here, you better control your weight.
And the fact that he went from this
is senior tape?
This is senior tape. He went from this to, you're playing year 1. Like, Auburn.
Well, 8 games in.
8 games still.
Yeah.
8 games in.
I'm flabbergasted how we went from, that's a flat belly. There is no belly on this sucker right here to, seriously, stop eating candy, bud. Mm-hmm. Like, wow. Must have had an atrocious offseason before we went to college. I'm going to show you a bull rush right here, coach. Mm-hmm. 3-star, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see why.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God! Oh my God! I maybe would have made him a 5-star off this one clip.
It should have been play 1.
This is insane. Him jumping over that guy and then throwing that running back. I'm assuming we missed the sack. That's probably why it wasn't left on the clips. Probably got made miss. God, he looks so long and skinny. I might have to. Nah, I'm not going to big league. I'm about to say, I might have to text Jordan after this. Like, what happened? How did we put that much weight on, dude? It's like, hey, dude, I know you're preparing for a Super Bowl, but quick question.
Yeah.
You know, what happened between your senior year of high school and
Take me back.
Ask him what
2019.
How did we put 60 pounds on?
Ask him what color the Gatorade's going to be.
That's a good one. All right. We got another one?
We got 2 more.
Give me another one.
All right.
Do one more because we got to save the nostalgia tape, too.
All right, which one?
We can't blow all the nostalgia.
All right.
There's only so many former UGA players that we can
Do you
show.
want this one?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll do
I
this
want to see that one.
All right. We got
This one is very interesting. You might get this one, Brooks,
Yeah?
but it's a very interesting watch.
Okay. Huh.
I want to see if you guess the same player I did upon initial watch. Which you probably won't because you probably watched the other guy's tape to know, but...
This is Richie.
Mm-mm.
No? This is Harris County High School?
Yeah.
Looks nothing like
Yeah.
the player that he was in college.
Nor is playing the same position.
Did he play defense in college?
He
did.
Is that a jersey or are those dreads?
Those are dreads, I believe.
Did he have dreads in college?
No.
No.
That's what we're saying. Like, he looks nothing like he did in college.
This isn't Mark Webb, is it?
It's
No.
not.
Think bigger body people.
Yeah, those long limbs right there got me. Not Otis Reese, is it? Who is this?
Tay Crowder.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I would have never gotten that. No
He
chance.
looks like Derrick Henry light in here. Oh my!
Bam!
Kirby told me he didn't play offense in college, and I saw like dreads, and I was like, "Is this Keely Ringo?" I was like, "This is a big body dude." And then he told me it's Tay Crowder. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, came to Georgia as a running back.
He did.
Mr. Irrelevant. I think just got cut this year.
Yeah, this year he finally got
Not going to make that NFL retirement.
No, unfortunately.
Probably going to be a GA at Georgia pretty soon, I imagine.
Wouldn't be
GA Tay? GA Tay? Appreciate you guys for being here tonight, man. We love you. We'll have another film study coming out tomorrow, and we will have another live show for you guys tomorrow night as well. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out. If you miss any portion of tonight's broadcast, it will be made readily available. However, wherever you get your podcasts, just search Film Guy Network. Make sure you give us a thumbs up over